What's going on, everybody? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
Oh, nothing. Go ahead.
What's going on, everybody? As Wales, Crypto, Kool-Aid, and Access Alive. And you know this is a special event. We're going to get... sorry, man. Oh, you know what I forgot again, man? I really need to remember this countdown shit. Hold on, man. Hold on. I keep forgetting. Yo, what up, everybody? It's Wells, Crypto, Kool-Aid, and Access. How's everybody doing today? Hope you guys are ready for this epic Sunday. What's going on, gentlemen? Talk to me. How you guys doing?
It's an epic good Sunday. Cannot argue with that. How about you guys?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good right now. I'm liking this price action on HEX.
Right. Oh, I need to make us a better countdown because I suppose we can get something better than a number clicking down and some white things going up in the sky.
I might know somebody.
I know. We'll see.
You might.
We'll see.
Sweet.
Too funny, man.
Well, that's cool. Revelation number 1.
Right.
To come.
right.
Well, we were. I just got freaking drilled by freaking angry whales in the green room because I about unrolled my marbles on these guys. I was like, damn. All right, brother. Sorry. God.
From the whale to the kraken.
Right.
Fucking ship sunk and centered, man. Wow.
No, hold on. You didn't tell the whole story. I'm like, all right. Let's go live in a second, right? Just hold your thought for a little bit. And this motherfucker's like, all right. Anyway.
It's like once you get rolling. Oh, by the way, this is just coming in just now. Doge is pumping, everybody. Doge is pumping. Wow. 35 cents, baby.
Wow.
There's nothing like riding a turtle to make you feel good.
Oh, shoot. They trade that all day. One of my managers at work just came up to me today and gave me a big old hug. He's like, yeah, man, I made $1,000 trading Doge. I was like, yeah, man. Nice.
I
was like, I've been selling them HEX for like 6 months, but nice.
Yeah, I mean, hey, hopefully he makes his money, figures out that shit is not going to last, and makes the right move.
I mean, sometimes you just need to pat people on the head and be like, it'll be all right. You'll learn one day.
Yeah, pretty much. Appreciate the super chat, Alan. Brother.
Is your friend trading on old Robinhood? Big heavy hitter over there in Appland?
One indeed.
Yeah, I mean, like,
pulled it up for proof and everything.
Yeah, I know it, right? I love to be a fax machine maximalist. I upgraded from being a fucking carrier pigeon maximalist.
Maximalist. Oh my god, that's great. That's great. We're gonna use that.
Well, I mean, it's better than the carrier pigeon maximalist because I think I only go one way and then wham, shot. No.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, hey, people eat pigeons too. I don't know if anybody. Sure. Yeah, people eat pigeons. So
yeah, I mean, out in New York, that's a delicacy right there, right?
There's been some interesting stuff going on in New York last week. I'm pretty sure.
And chicken of the sea, it's chicken of the park. So
Central Park. Oh,
I thought it was children of the park. I thought wasn't there like underground tunnels over there or something. I don't know.
Well, there's all kind of stuff going on over here, man. You just never know.
That's where those alligators are, man. They be riding that Doge pump too, right?
Or riding the Doge slime under the sewers, yo.
That's right.
Underground, just in the sewers, just riding that slime 0 miles an hour.
but I hear the S load is pretty good in that, underground piping over there.
That's what they say, man. That's what they say. That S load is everything.
That's right.
Hopefully you can pay for it.
Oh, man.
S is for Subway.
Seriously, because that's what they're riding. Old broken down system that feigns to be the best, but really is crappy as fuck.
That's true.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, hey, we're pretty lucky, right? We own HEX. If you're new to HEX, and you haven't owned it for long, congrats. Welcome aboard. You might not understand what you own just yet, but if you like to, please watch all my own streams because they're very detailed. They're long for a reason. They're making a very good point. Very good point.
You can either take the cliff notes and figure out how to get through a class, or you can read the dissertation and know how to learn and utilize life. It's very important to actually use those ideals.
I agree with that, 100%. Life is an effort to improve yourself.
Correct.
Like if you can find stillness within yourself, anything's possible. It really is.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's how
everyone finds it a different way. Everyone needs little things, little nudges here and there.
And that's why you have pumps, and that's why you have new all-time highs. Is learning those lessons in life allows you to rehash that.
Make those lessons a lot faster.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Quick recovery time, I think, right now in these early days.
For sure. Appreciate the super sticker there, Bala. Shout out to you, brother. But yeah, it's crazy out there, to put it lightly. Right.
A tweet came across something about T-shares, and I replied. Somebody said something about T-shares that people are gonna be priced out of T-shares in like 10 years, and I laughed, and I was just like, 300 billion shares right now cost $300 bucks.
Right.
So I was like, or what is it? 900? It's 3,000 per T-share. Yeah, 300 would be 900. I was like, wow. I was like, this shit stuff's getting out of priced out so fast. Like it's next year, you're already going to be seeing like crazy. Like you got a year basically before they get expensive.
Well, the thing is, it's like one of my goals personally is I try to help people invest for their children's future. And I was sitting in the hot tub as I do, and I pulled up HEX.LIVE, and I was trying to explain to this gal, like she's got an 8-year-old, and I was like, look, if you put in 300 now, and you just do a 5, the brunt math on it, if it was like $240 at the end, it's like 3.8 million. And of course, in 15 years, you should probably add 2 zeros to 240. But still, at that number, $300, 5, 3.8 million. What would you not want to do that for your kid? Grandparents used to give their, newly, birthed grandchildren a bond and be like, Sonny, this will be worth well for you when you're older. But it's not worth shit. But that actually is.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little telling when you just fall and don't get up, right?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta always get up when you fall, bro.
That's right. Well, what is it? Eric Thomas said, when you want to succeed as much as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful.
Correct. And success is not defined, right? It's literally relative. So that's, I think, the hardest thing for people to realize. I know it was hard for me to realize, and until I realized that, right, I didn't really achieve any closure from that perspective as far as what am I doing, where am I going, right? Because we all ask ourselves that question from time to time. Because sometimes we feel like we're just wasting time, man. If you're just an employee of some, shit company and you're not doing something for yourself, guess what? You're in that group, because I used to be in that group too. And that's just what it is.
When you want to get paid well to do what you love to do for free, it doesn't matter what you do for that love. Figure out how to earn yield and get paid well. So whatever you do with your free time, whether you consider it your career or not your career, is what your passion is. And that will make you passionate about what you do with it.
Correct. I mean, it's, this is why it's easy for me to do 2 3-hour live streams, right? I'm very passionate about the topics I discuss. I've been studying them for damn near 2 decades at this point, or a decade and a half at this point. Well, actually, no, almost 15 years I've been studying this stuff, from not knowing anything to actually having a concrete understanding and being able to call shit in real time, right? Like, that takes study, right? That's not something you're just born with. It takes effort, right? It takes diligence. It takes persistence. It takes a desire to want to understand what the hell is going on, because there's always some shit going on.
You know what I always find so fascinating about your story, Wales, is how you were just a guy that was like deep in the trenches in Wall Street, and then you stumbled upon this thing,
Yeah,
and
it's
it is
crazy.
like falling over a diamond.
Yep, literally.
Yeah.
To me, like you're like a special case where you were able to apply that accumulated knowledge and wealth in a way that is so impactful. You know what I mean? Like in
Yeah, it
you and on
helps.
others in this space that are doing the same. Like this is a pretty cool to see happen. I mean, it's almost like fate, if you will, that you found this asset because I mean, if you didn't, somebody else like you would have.
Right.
Yep.
Right. I mean, that's just kind of the way it works, right? If it's not one, it's the other. And that's kind of the weird thing about life that a lot of people kind of, you know, don't realize. It's like there's always opportunity. It's just a matter of you being available to see it. And, I didn't
And,
see what I
and like
wanted to
ready,
see.
right? And like
Yeah,
ready for it. The thing is, like, sometimes I think the key was like they're like at the right moment you'll be right in the right position as long as you are consistent. I think that's
correct.
kind of like trying to hammer home that what we've been saying all night already is just be consistent with what you love to do.
Correct.
Because there's ways to find you got to figure out how you can market something to be effective to pay you. I mean that's really not just talking to people like Crypto Kool-Aid, you come up with like 5 different ways to earn yield on one product, I bet. So
Right.
it's all about surrounding yourself with people that are creative and want to think and talk, speak and talk ideas, because that's really where things are born, is in that creative space. It's all in the mental sphere of life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Stay
Yep.
there, stay in that intellectual place, peace of mind, stay intellectual about things, because if you surrender to your emotions too much, it tends to get in the way of the focus of what you're trying to accomplish long term. And so with Hex, it kind of simplifies it because it lets you make a single decision at a point in time that has longer lasting implications that you don't have to be consciously aware of every day, which is
Well,
very awesome.
the thing is that they make the Hex engine, truth engine, or an economic engine has momentum like a pendulum built into its own game mechanics. So as it swings, it builds velocity. Whether that's the same correlation in between an avalanche moving forward that builds velocity on its own accord, or like you said, I think it was like a month or 3 ago, Axis, about like PHEX and EHEX being dueling suns or dueling moons that pull that economic mass back and forward and create almost a fission or a fusion in between those moving mechanical ideals.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's definitely a good way to look at it. Is this like you're gonna have these like huge economic powerhouse systems in these the blockchain space, and I think to that particular point, the T-share Truth Engine system will have an edge on every other system for now. But that is set aside. I think you're like, it's just like Bitcoin having the weight that it has in the world economy and its own Bitcoin mining economy as well. There's a lot there, to unpack as far as like how big these networks can get. It's very exciting because when you pair what we know about Hex and how fast it appreciates with everything, you really just kind of want to stay in Hex largely for the early part of its lifespan, just because you'll be able to earn larger amounts of all the cryptos that you actually love. Like that, there's been people in the community that have said that in the past, that it's good to surrender some of your favorite cryptos to get more of them later, in a sense. Because all
Well,
the math is telling us that, right?
Well, the thing is that like, after diamond handing, riding down everything from 2018, basically zero, I had a great ideals and what I think the future will have and benefit from crypto. But at the end of the day, restarting over in 2020, what I want is to be able to get yield, and that yield will allow me to, whether I want to frivolly invest in something else later, the yield is the most important part of that aspect. But regardless of the fact, those other ideals aren't fully developed as a product. They are still a promise. So investing in the promise is not the most economic beneficial decision if you want to actually be able to have more benefit.
Speculative investing.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not really like saving.
Yeah, that's exactly
It's
right.
saving. And that's what people keep forgetting, is this is a savings instrument.
Correct.
It just so happens to also have a nice yield, happens to be immutable, happens to have all these other properties, which makes it innovative and fresh
Right.
and something unique and good and wholesome, and like all these things that are so exciting for all of us Hexicans that are exposed to the gains, because that's why we're all here. Let's
Right.
not joke. If
No.
you want to go play the tech stuff, and the other part of the space, which is like the speculative sphere of crypto, then you go play with the Promise Coin space.
Right.
So over here, what we're talking about is a mutable solar system of an economy that's being built. Like, I don't think people comprehend how big this is gonna get.
Yeah. Nah. I mean, and, you know, in a lot of ways, you know, thank you guys for all the super chats. I really appreciate it. But I just gotta warn you guys, I still haven't been able to cash out a single cent, so you might want to slow that shit down. I don't actually know if I'm ever gonna be able to take his money out because I just have received no contact from YouTube or Google. So appreciate you though. I mean, this is what you get from centralized institutions, right? And this is what I'm talking about. Imagine if I was actually relying on this shit for income, I'd be fucked.
Yep.
Because Super Chat's been open for what? I think a solid 2-3 months now for me. And yeah, not seen a cent, folks. And that's how centralized authorities or figureheads or whatever you want to call it, that's how they work. Right?
That's how I like to keep that glass ceiling, that hopium there. Right? They think one of these days you're going to be able to see through that glass ceiling. And no, you just get closer to the glass. Your nose just gets closer. It doesn't mean you get to break free.
Correct. Yeah, I'm actually gonna play the specific 4-minute portion of when Nixon's because the thing is, and I'm gonna share both of the links in the description in the video description. But so what happened at the time, just to go into it real quick, was that you had it's kind of like what's happening now. They used Vietnam and everything that was happening at the time to institute their own reset of the time. And the reset of the time was away from Bretton Woods into what we know today as a fiat-based monetary system, right? Which is just really debt-backed, right? And we were talking about this in the green room, Axis and Kool-Aid and you know what we've gotten from there since that point is we had fixed rates of exchange based on economic productivity, right? This is what it was. So the rates of exchange, even though they were fixed, right? There was no opportunity to speculate. Didn't mean you couldn't if you understood the macro picture, right? It was just a different type of trade at that time. You didn't have the volatility. But what ended up happening in the 70s was very unique to the time, and we're living through that same scenario right now. And this is exactly why Hex 19 almost threw up, right? Like, it's serious. And we've seen the end result of that action, which, by the way, was supposed to be temporary. Just like, guess what? Them Rona measures. Remember the 2 weeks? The 2 weeks was 18 months ago. A lot of people forget that. So, yeah, that's why it's clearly about control. And the rest of this shit is just fucking made up statistical nonsense. It just is. Just look at the facts and figures. You don't got to take my word for it. But you got to actually research, though. Don't just watch TV and think you know what the fuck you're talking about, because you don't. Right? Where's the science? Why has it not been replicated umpteen times? Based on what they're talking about, right? Because that's what we're talking about here. It's about centralized authority and their lack thereof, right? Like, they actually have none, but we give it to them because we acquiesce. Right? We give tacit approval. And that's the fucking problem. If you're not educated, you're not reading, you're not trying to become a better individual, you're not going to be anybody. You're just going to be this drop in the water that gets swayed from side to side in this big ass bucket of shit. So you clearly go from water to shit. You get what I'm saying? You stop becoming a human. And that's what we're experiencing right now. Look at how they're treating us. Like, I hope this shit is clear. I really do. Because we see it every day. I mean, if you live in Australia, God bless you. Because you can't even fucking go outside. And that's real. That's really happening, right? And that's a function of everything that's happened throughout history. Okay? This is why, no matter what we're talking about, and thank you again for all the super chats. I really appreciate it. That's why, and shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for coming through. Dollar Cause, if you want to jump in here, you might be a good person to be up in here to talk about this gold situation. Let me know, bro, and I just send you the link into the Twitter DM or whatever. But understanding all of these facets of history is critical, because this is why crypto is now, not later, not tomorrow, now. Okay? It's now. Decentralization is now. Because what's happening now is that we're going to another point in time where they're just going to do what the fuck they want to do, because nobody gives a fuck. They're too busy twiddling their thumbs and watching fucking reality TV shows or whatever the fuck, Full Rules, whatever the case may be. Right? I don't fucking know what people watch. I don't watch TV. I don't watch shit. Only thing I watch is like hexagon content. And that's because I have a clear vested interest in watching it, right? So the question becomes, what are you willing to allow to happen, right? Are you willing to allow another motherfucking disaster to happen on your watch? I don't have the interest to do so. And I'm doing my part to make sure that everybody can't say they didn't fucking know. Because I spent 20 years being mad because nobody knew shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's real.
See this from Balaji.
Nah.
So,
crazy,
Wales, it's definitely more of your kit and caboodle, but like the OG blue chip stocks back in the day, going like 1920s, 1930s, all the rest of that stuff before they took the original gold, played real dividends. And owning a blue chip through the entire century was actually owning something that paid you yield in a matter and intrinsic that mattered the most. But then after the big short of the 20 or 2008 crash, Ford went down. Lehman Brothers went down. Before that, Enron went down. All these other things that you thought you held blue chip came to fruition that you held nothing but air and promise.
Sounds familiar.
Whoa.
Sounds familiar. And I don't even like to sing, but I got to right now because everybody loves to play themselves.
Just realized
just need a fucking montage. It's right? A motherfucking montage.
Like, yo, read a fucking book. How many times do people got to fall into the same trap? It's crazy. I honestly don't get it. I don't get it. And crypto is literally meant to take us away from those traps. And here we literally are watching all of these clowns take a step. Well, hold on. Not a step. Allow me to rephrase. They're fucking sprinting in that direction. Right? We see it every day.
I don't want to steer too far off course, but I just had a thought about kind of like where the future of this whole system kind of might, with the USDC and the announcement about Circle Bank announcing they're going to be a fully backed bank.
Yes. Somebody asked me about that yesterday.
Can't remember who the hell it was. So, from my knowledge, it's relevant to today's about it.
It's relevant to today's.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. As we get to that part,
thank you for bringing it up.
Interesting to bring that up. So, and I'm really liking this price action right now on Hex too. Looking juicy.
Well, we know that price action is always going to be juicy no matter what. So doesn't matter.
I guess we can say that later, but just like that's a big part of the evolution of what I think could be the future of the United States potentially. So,
right. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, right? We have an opportunity that nobody else has ever had in history. Like, I don't think people appreciate that enough because they don't know shit about history, right? And that's technically their own fault. But damn, if I can spread a little knowledge, spread a little information, let me do my part to educate, right? Because if we don't collectively decide to make this choice to move our value mechanism from shit to sugar, that's literally what it is, right? Like, it's not really a debate. That's what it is. Look at your bank account if you don't understand. Look at the prices of things outside if you don't understand. There's a reason they go up every year. 5, 10, 15, 25%. Your cost of living goes up every single year unless you live in a place that has no economy. If you live in that kind of place, then your ass has no job anyway. And you're probably like, I don't know, growing shit. I don't know. I honestly don't know because I'm from a city. right? I honestly don't know. But I know that there's no economy because when I was in the military, like the majority of the people in the military were guess from where? The South, where there is no economy. Just a cold hard fact.
Right. You know, I was trying to explain to someone the other day when they were trying to use the word Ponzi and scam and all the rest of that. And I'm like, all right, so let me ask you a question. You own a bank account, right? And they're like, yep. And I'm like, you pay a fee to use that bank account. And they're like, yep. You realize that fee that you pay is getting inflated every time that you use it. So you're paying to use a system that inflates itself. And they're like, yep. I'm like, how do you get paid? Do you run over to the nearest money tree and shake it really hard and get your rake? And David the gnome comes out and he gives you your yield off your money tree that you shake to then put it back into the thing that you pay to use to get paid. And they're like, no, I don't do that. But I'm like, but you do need to get paid. So how do you put that money into something? Because nobody hands you cash anymore from David the gnome. You have to have a bank account to get paid, to use a system that inflates itself, that they give you a fee to access. So how is that not play to play? And then furthermore, those governing entities that you have to shake the money tree to get access to get paid can do whatever they want, from make fake accounts. What was it? Wells Fargo did to do all these other things, right? It's like, so it's such an interesting.
I think most people just always think like, well, not me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. It's like for the most part. But here's the thing: is if this keeps happening over and over, it will be you. So I don't know. Those companies need to go down. They need to. Like, here's the problem: is like when you continue to print money and you keep these zombie entities afloat. I'm saying entities because all of our trusts in the 90s and before, all of our trust, man, was in our central banking economy for so long, but now it's been shifted to something else.
I mean, yeah, we got a whole generation of people like us on this fucking stream right now,
different people. It's just, and that's the cool part about this thing is it doesn't have to be just crypto. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So think about it: tokenized stocks, or even just trading on.
Well, it depends how it's done. It depends how it's done. That's the thing. Because
the point is like the accessibility, right?
I mean, accessibility is the problem in a lot of cases. That's why people get wrecked.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's that angle for sure. Yeah. Well, that's just because of a lack of education, right?
Well, that's the point. That's why we need to do things the right way, brother. Because that's the whole point, right?
So question: how do you if the U.S. regulator said, all right, you can only invest in this in an ICO if you have $25,000 in your credit.
They'll do it if they want to. What then?
But I'm saying it's a protective measure, but all it does is it prices out people. It's not really good.
Yeah, that's not a protective measure.
Not at all. It's the same reason why, like, an IPO have to be accredited investor, so $1 million in.
Correct.
But you can be poor and have a payday loan, and so like you can actually play with something that will harvest you and basically wreck you by default. And they're not regulating those. Anybody can walk down and get a payday loan, which will
they don't regulate those rates. Nope.
No, not at all. But
a lot of class action lawsuits on that one.
Yeah.
And so all they're doing by having an accredited investment thing is keeping the rich and not letting the poor or the future prospects to having wealth play in the game. So it's kind of like not being allowed to take part in a particular educational class system, caste system, or even use a highway, or even use a particular waterway, or anything like that.
Caste system, I think, is a correct word, right? Let's think about it. You're literally segregating people by economic class when that happens. You're not saving anybody. You get what I'm saying? So I understand how it can look like that because that's how we're doing it.
We're doing it in HEX too, but the difference is that there's always these tiered layers of investors in your tier of class that will get a payout. You know what I'm saying? It's immutable code. But so it's a natural part of of trading, man.
No. It is. There's always going to be speculators and people that just aren't up to snuff. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is crypto doesn't have to be that. That's what I'm saying. And we need to make sure it doesn't end up that way because then it's not going to be.
Point shit.
I mean, look, you can have a project all you want, right? You can have a project all you want because
more like these things are like research projects on a fanboy website.
On a very base level, yeah. On a very base level, yes.
Yeah.
You have to find out if there's market fit because otherwise, who gives a fuck what you're doing?
Yeah.
Right? That's why Hex is so critical.
Yeah.
Because
Does it solve a problem? Yes, it solves a problem. Done.
Exactly.
By the way, it solves it in a really good way too.
I mean, yeah, but the whole point is, right, is you can have a promise coin. The point is, what's the promise? Is it attainable? Or are you going to spend the next 20 years building like some folks? What are you going to do, right? I mean, there has to be an endpoint. There can't be a fucking 10-year roadmap. That shit's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's stupid. Like, crypto isn't made for that.
Imagine if you tried to make a video game like that.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Like, come on, man. Like, it's not even realistic. Like,
yeah, you would be just fragmented shit because the part of the whole thing is the confluence of time. So, like, when you're in as you're game dev, or it's like for me, I'm like do a graphic design. From start to finish the project, there's like an evolution or a flow that the project takes on that is relevant to what's going on in your life also around you during that 3-month period or whatever. That's actually part of the culture of what's going on in society and stuff that influences the art in a meaningful way. So you can actually like let things run too long sometimes.
Yeah,
it's cool, man. That creative work is intense, but it needs to be focused in on. It needs to be iterated on and completed. Same with this coding with all these new softwares. It just seems give the Cardano project for example. There need to be a segregation between the research side of it and the actual smart contract development because like there should just be a team building that out, like an engineering team building that out. I don't look into it, so I'm just making assumptions. But there's got to be the funding to make this happen, or is this just that hard? Are these problems that complicated?
I mean, if they are, we have no hope in hell to get them resolved if it takes that long, right? Because when you have nothing else to do, it doesn't take that long to do anything. Like, I'm sorry, right. I was a math major. I can promise you it doesn't take that long when you have nothing else to do. And this is coming from a person that didn't know dick, right? Before he forced himself to learn. So you have to understand, you either want to or you don't. It's very straightforward. And my money is on the not want. So just saying. It can't be impossible. Plenty of other people seem to be making strides. So what's really going on? Right?
Right.
A little weird.
So I guess this kind of gets back into our talk on gold.
Right. I mean, so why has gold been so special throughout history, right? That's kind of like what this is all about. That's why we're here. Talk about gold and all of that. But we kind of got to work our way into why we even care in the first place, right? And again, appreciate all the super chats, guys. You guys are crazy. Like, why gold, right? Like, why did gold matter for so long, right? Because now I even say, hey, you got to be careful because even gold is manipulated. And that's why you have to be careful. And I've shown how they are out there manipulating it, right? They literally have it dictated in their powers. And by they, I mean central banks. And what happens is they take supply, either have somebody sell it, or they lease it out so it can be sold, which is really one and the same, but it's different mechanisms. I'm not going to get into that. But just understand that they're the ones pulling the levers because they literally have it in their rules. Like, it's literally one of their powers. Like, it's literally, like, I did a stream and I showed it. I don't remember which one it was. Good luck finding it. But I already showed it.
It was the repo market one, I think.
Could have been one of those. Maybe it was the second one. Either the first or the second one. Good luck. I don't know. But I think you're right. Because it was related at the time.
Yep.
And we were talking about money. It's all about the money. Right? What is the money?
Fix the world, man.
Yeah. Right.
That whole ethos thing, you know?
I mean, it's just basics.
You know,
right?
it's basic, dude. At one point, gold was what the dollar was tied to. Literally, like if you had $1, you had so much gold. That was like a tied.
There was a tied rate to it. Right.
So that the currency that we used and traded was tied to real world things, like actual tangible physical things. So that the economy growing was actually a physical representation of prosperity at that time, back before, you know, as industry was emerging and like lots of physical labor processes were being developed and created to get us to a point now where everything's now digital.
Right.
And hypertrophication, or what is hypertrophication? What's that word I'm looking for?
Hypothecated.
Rehypothecated. The oblivion and derivatives and all this like imaginary foo-foo dust shit. Like crypto is more real than any of that.
Literally.
Because it's an actual limited asset counted for on a ledger on a blockchain shared by all. It's pretty. I don't know if you heard of it yet. If you're here, you probably have. But
maybe.
Well, but it's cool though.
What's interesting, Axis, is like gold throughout time, if we go back to like, primitive times, was more or less used for spiritual, kingly, and or anointed worshiping activities. So it had a essence of prosperity that tied you to higher reincarnation, evolution, knightlyhood, brotherhood, all the rest of that stuff. So as it came forward through time, it had a commodity attached to it, whether that was lambs, sheep, wool, tithe, or prosperity. And then moving forward, we go into this digital age. Let me ask you this. What is it? There is an atom. It only happens when nuclear fallout happens. So it's only in Chernobyl and Fukushima. I forget what the molecular quantum is, but that atom is probably, or that qualification to get that commodity is the rarest in the universe. And to get near it, you die due to radiation. So really? You look at like, it's cool
Where is
stuff.
that? Fukushima?
I'd have to look. Yeah, it basically there's a molecular compound that's only created when you have a nuclear meltdown. So it only exists in the elephant foot in Chernobyl and in Fukushima. So this commodity, if you want to call it such as that, because it exists, it can be harvested and yielded. It's just you can't get near it because it will kill you. But it's fascinating because that. It's like you can't create it besides creating an ecosystem where everything around it dies immediately getting near it.
Crazy,
right?
Extremely. I mean, look, I'm not a proponent of like nuclear anything because humans just shouldn't be allowed to play with shit like that. I mean, clearly, how many historical examples do you need? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, it's easy to believe in, you're the best, altruistic, blah, 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 but you ain't going to be around forever. So the whole idea is just a little funky to me. So, I don't know. Hasn't worked out that well so far, so I'll say that much.
My point is that commodities are interesting on how rare they are versus what they're used for.
Sure, but so like gold, right? So gold, right? Gold is a great example. It is one of the only metals, if not the only metal, that does not corrode, right? A lot of people don't even know that, but gold doesn't corrode. It just stays as gold, no matter what. Yeah, you got to clean it. Sure, it gets dirty. Sure, but it's still, once you clean it, that's it, right? Like that doesn't change. And that's important because that is what makes it so superior.
Okay, so right? you're honing in on the properties of gold and that it's an element that can't be brushed away or mutated or changed without serious chemical reaction.
Good job. So you got to the immutability part of its existence. Correct, sir.
Yes.
Correct.
This is making sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's very, very straightforward. Right? Like, we can act like we don't know what good money looks like, but we do because we've had many examples of it throughout history. Hell, the best example, and I've said this before, has been a tree branch. That's what that was the first original version of money in Britain back in the day. Right? The club notches. Like, they would literally put notches in clubs, and that was it. Boom. So you couldn't fake that, right? Like, you can't fake a tree branch because somebody had one half and you had the other. So every time something happened, it had to be recorded. That sounds familiar. Damn, where did I hear about that? Something like that before? Huh. Maybe it's the blockchain. Does that sound something like that would happen on the blockchain? I don't know, maybe. But if you get exchanges involved in the mix, well, guess what? They're going to fuck it up. right?
Yep.
And that's literally what we've seen, for the past, I don't know how many years. Like I left in 17, 18 because I was disgusted with what I was seeing. I was like, for this, I'll just stay in fucking legacy. It's not this bad. Literally why I left. Literally. Right? Like that's real. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't talk about that point in time, but they should because it was a really shitty one. Like you literally have people on financial mainstream media showing people how to buy shit coins. Like they literally did tutorials of this shit live on TV. Like wow, and people still don't get it. Like it's crazy. Like they're out here setting you up for failure in any which way possible.
Well, I mean, that's how you know the top was happening just when subprime mortgages being offered during the housing crisis. Everything was all hunky dory until everything came crashing back down. House cards.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing, right? It's like, well, how many times are we gonna let that happen? Like that's a real question. Because it's on us, right? It happens how it happens because we just allow it.
Well, I think they dangle that glass ceiling in front of us, right? You know what I mean? I'm a victim of critical student loan mass. I have $250,000 in student loan debt, paid about $1,100 to $1,400 a month for over 10 years. That's only touched the interest, never the principal. And should I not have found crypto, I wouldn't have a way out of that circular, right? No, and the same thing of like not having health insurance and having cancer, accident, something, even worse if it's, let's say you're a kid, right? Let's say you're a 50-year-old mom and your 30-year-old son has that happen to you, and you've worked all your life, and now you liquidate everything just to save them for a couple years.
Yeah, and it works for no reason.
Yep. It's sad because that glass ceiling is everywhere around you.
Yeah, and it happens too. It's real. It's very real.
Yeah, this guy wants to know a little bit about Pulse, Chris, in the chat. I mean, I just quick recap here.
I mean, hold on. Like the title of this is very clear, right? We didn't really come here to talk about Pulse, but we'll entertain it because the question was asked. But respect the title of the event. You know what I mean? Like this is macro talk. This isn't Pulse chain talk.
So just so you know, Chris Side Effects is actually one of my onboards, a good friend of mine. So what's up, Chris? But yeah, he highly respects you guys all the time. He's been licking at the bit to listen to you guys some more.
Yeah, no, it's cool. The question, there's nothing wrong with the question. I just don't want to stray too far away from the topic because
it's about gold.
Yeah, we can get to the Pulse stuff here in a little bit. Let's just keep going on the gold stuff for now.
Yeah, so we'll save that one for later, Chris. I just don't want people to get carried away on the topic. I just want to keep it, relevant and in line for now. But we will talk about that stuff. Don't worry, because it is important, right? It still hasn't happened. A lot of people are still new. They still got questions. So I know we're going to have to address it at some point. This is just more going to be a historical nexus of the conversation for now.
It's our finance history lesson. That's why I love listening to you, Wales. It's that it's like if you talk to me, you get game mechanics and game theory. When you listen to Wales and Axis, you get finance and you get practicability on how your economic math moves.
Correct. So to answer your question, Limon, that's the whole point. You gotta let me get to Pulse first, bro. Like this is like a movie, right? Like I'm setting up a whole timeline. So if we're supposed to start at the 1800s, why are we gonna talk about Pulse first? Makes no sense, bro. Please help me help you. Thank you. Like, come on, man. Like,
you're the best, Wales. I love listening to you, my friend.
Like I'm out here trying to help y'all out, and you're gonna try to tell me how to do it. What the fuck? Like it's crazy, man. Like sit back, relax, grab a beer, light a joint, whatever you gotta do. Because this is gonna be a good one for real. Like you guys gotta understand. There's a reason I'm so adamant about the standards that we need to set, right? And I mean, even Richard Hart has pretty much made it clear, right? And if you haven't seen his latest tweet to that regard, well, let me enlighten you because it's that important, right? It's supremely important because we are the leaders in the space. Whether you want to appreciate it or not, agree with it or not my problem. It is what it is. So in accordance with that, I have to step up your game as well, right? Like understand that it's like the Yankees, right? The Boston Bruins, wasn't it? Boston Penguins. I don't fucking know hockey like that. Sorry, guys, but whoever the fuck is popping in hockey, right? The Jordan and fucking in the 80s and 90s, right? Like, who is the top? They're not fucking bowing down. They're not asking permission. They're telling motherfuckers what they need to do. So if it's our job to tell motherfuckers what they need to do, that doesn't mean bend over and lower your standards. Negative. That means raise them and enforce them. Because if we don't, what's going to happen is another continual repeat, a perpetual eventuality. We're going to see a bunch of BS like we see in China. Constant crypto FUD. When they can't actually do shit. So understanding what you're doing here is important. It's not for fun. You think this is just about making money? Please leave. This is not what this is about. You can go make money anywhere else. Good luck to you. This is a little different. This is about building long-term generational wealth. So your frame of mind has to be a little different. This is not a game. This is for grown folk only. So if you want your kids to succeed, you better start teaching them now, because you don't want them to become grown individual adults and be incapable of managing their finances, because what's going to happen is they're going to become a crypto Kool-Aid. They're going to become a whales only. They're going to be in a fucking hole looking for a way to dig themselves out. That's a fact.
Hell.
So understand that this shit is real. This is not a joke. I'm not taking 2 hours of my motherfucking day all the time because I got nothing better to do. I'm really trying to help people understand what's going on.
2 hours, you lie. I called you the other night, and I'm glad you were sleeping because it confirmed you weren't damn AI. I'm just like, shit, you're on. I'm the only one that doesn't sleep, and I'm just like, man, I'm glad you do. Otherwise, be like, man.
Yeah, that day, yeah, you know, it's funny. I think it was the effing hangout before the last one. I really wanted to go, but I was so beat, man, that I just couldn't even stay up. I was like, fuck, man, I just had to tap out.
That's crazy because you're on the one side of the cycle and then the other side of the cycle, and I'll run a 36-hour day.
Right,
and I was like, Jesus, man, like, are you sure you're not AI?
And look, dude, I'm not used to sitting down all the time, so all this shit is all new for me. Like all this sitting down, like I haven't done it. Like this shit here, like I don't like this. So for me to be sitting down so much, like it really bothers my like it, you know, it affects me mentally. Like I need to be moving, right? And this is why, you know, like when you find yourself in a new type of situation, it's important to understand what's going on, right? And I just want to read Richard's hard tweet because this is critical. You're trying to play in the cryptocurrency game. You better understand what the rules are and understand what cryptocurrency is. Otherwise, you're going to get taken out. Because, I sent a tweet out earlier. It's Furu season. Don't become a victim. You've been warned. Because I'm not slowing down. In fact, this is literally, I was like in first and second gear before Vegas. After Vegas, stepped it up. Right? This is the green light for me because this is exactly what I'm about. And I've never, ever said anything different to the contrary. And if you've been watching any of my streams, you know that. Because it's really this simple. It's this simple. Centralization is the problem, right? Centralization of control of your life, right? Because that's what the hell is going on. You have no idea what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. Literally. You break a federal law every single day if you live in America, and you don't even know that. Because why would you? Makes no motherfucking sense. But that's the point. But you must remember that ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Mm-hmm. So this is the world you live in. How do you win when you're set up for failure from birth? It's by learning the rules and only learning the rules. It's not by believing that they're going to be out here to take care of you, because they're fucking not. That's why crypto fucking came into existence, right? That crypto shit came from this shit here. Literally. This shit here is where this crypto shit came from. So what do I mean? Well, what happened in 2001? We all know what the fuck happened in 2001. I don't need to say it. But look what happened before that point in time. Do you think that's honestly a coincidence? March, right? This is a 55-day candle chart of gold. Like I said, you're going to get a real lesson today. This is next level shit that I've not discussed with anybody, because you have to understand, this is not a fucking game. And I say this all the time. And here I'm going to show you in detail how this is not a fucking game. Because here they are doing it in your face via the gold market, right? And you're not going to be looking at this. You're an average Joe. What the hell do you give a fuck about a gold market? I get it. But this is why we have to learn everything. Ignorance is not an excuse. Just like they tell you that, I'm going to tell you that too, because here's the thing. This information is readily available for you at all times. I didn't figure this out because I got some secret code in the back of my pocket. I found it because I was looking for what the hell was going on, because nothing makes sense. So we're looking at this chart. You can see by looking at the bottom of the x-axis where the date scale is that this is 19 March 2001. Now, we're going to start this here. We're going to go across time. Here we are, January 2008. Now, we know what happened in 2007, right? That was the beginning of the housing crisis. What did gold do? It skyrocketed. It went from 650 to 1,000. Short order, right? 40 to 45% move, easy, right? So what happens then? Well, the central bankers wake up because they're like, oh, we fucked up. Shit, the hell's going on? Because gold just went parabolic. I mean, this almost looks like Hex, right? We're talking about 55 days times 34, because there are 34 bars in this chart range, in this date range, right? So 50 times 30, that's 1,500 days. You do the math on the rest. It's probably about 2,000 days of nonstop up in gold. Do you understand what this means? This is very simple, right? This means that the dollar was going straight down for a fucking 2,000 days straight. Oh, it's right here, 2,479 days. So there you go. Me doing math like a schmuck, but it's not in my face. There you go. So the dollar went down against gold for 2,500 days before the central bank realized there was an issue and they had to do something about it. What was that thing? Well, that thing ended up being QE. And if you don't know what quantitative easing is, let's look it up real quick, because it's relative.
Man, Wales, I didn't realize that time frame is like right when the housing market crashed. That's pretty amazing.
They put it in your face, baby. They ain't hiding shit. I'm always gonna say that, because whoever acts like they don't know, guess what? It's because you don't fucking want to know, and that's your own problem. It ain't nobody else's problem. So just because you don't know shit, don't mean shit to anybody else. Educate yourself. Seek the information, especially if you want to be one of those people that pretends to think that they're going to be rich and that's it. Because I'm going to tell you something. More money equals more problems, because you don't know what the fuck you're doing once you got money, but you got a lot of it. So you're going to try to do shit, and you're not going to have a clue what you're doing. You're really not. Trust me. You're really not. Because once you got money, what happens is that the sharks come out. Money is like blood. You should understand that. So here, Investopedia defines it as QE is a form of unconventional monetary policy in which a central bank purchases long-term securities from the open market in order to increase the money supply and encourage investment. So what does that all that bullshit means? All this means is that the central bank is buying whatever you're selling, as long as it's on their list, and they're going to overbid. And that's what we've seen. Increase the money supply. That's what overbidding is, because they're just throwing money out there. So what we've been seeing lately is the reverse of that, right? With the reverse repo. That's literally what that is. Them extracting this shit back out. So the whole story is to encourage lending and investment. But as I've already highlighted multiple times, that's not what's happening. So clearly that's not what it's really about, right? But what you have to understand is just the timeline, right? That's the important thing. So let's try to find that. All right, I think we might have something here. Here we go. So this is good enough. We don't really need to look at much more than this. So it's just like I said, right? December 2008 to March 2010. But again, we must remember how this actually works, right? Capital flows. So let's take a look at the chart again, because we're talking about gold, right? So this is from January 2008. When does this start? This starts in March. Oh, I'm sorry. Ends in January, ends in March. Excuse me. So this bar ended in March 18th. So the market sniffed them out way beforehand. This is what this sell-off is. You see? Because the market is always ahead of the Fed, right? And this is the thing that people cannot comprehend about the market. The market forces the central banks to act. They can only control it on a momentary basis, right? And this is evidence of that. Because even when they had the opportunity, the market was ahead of them by a tune of, let's see here, 2009, a whole year, basically. The market beat them by a whole year. And then by the time they figured it out, all it was just really a recipe for disaster for them, because look at what happened. They just added another 1,200 days of this move. That's what the fuck they did. Right? Like, you guys get what I'm saying. So the dollar literally went dump against the store of value for, and again, please understand, this is the paper market. So this isn't even what it should be. This is under a manipulated element. So this is what's very unique about what I'm showing you guys here. We literally saw the dollar get decimated for 10 years straight, and they could do nothing about it, to the point that they had to literally print the money so badly that that was the only thing that they could do to stop it from going up. Because the what was it, like 2 weeks ago, you had a $4 billion sale on a Sunday night open. $4 billion sale of gold on the open, on the Sunday futures market, open at the CME group. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that shit doesn't make any sense to me. And here you go. August 6th, right? Like, that's how it works. Right? Like, 6th to the 8th. As soon as the market opened, they dumped it.
It's a shitload of gold, man.
Sunday open. How does that happen, right? And these are the things that people just don't want to look at. This is Sunday open. Who's selling 60,000 gold contracts on a Sunday open when there's no liquidity? We love to talk about liquidity here all the time. This is what happens when there's actually no liquidity. You get a 3% move. That's not really a 3% move, because if you're entering this market, let's say you expect the market to go up, right? You're buying long for some ungodly reason. I don't know why you would do that, but people do crazy things when they trade, right? Because they think they see something that's not there, and that's the whole reason that trading is bad. Anyway, let's say they go long on this open. They go long this contract at 1763. And now you must remember, gold is only tradable in paper currencies. You can't really trade physical. If you're buying physical, you're just stacking it, right? You're not literally going to buy it to sell it after a 10% move up, right? You're holding that shit like it's crypto. So that's what you're actually doing with the physical. This is strictly tied to the paper markets. And that's it, right? And I'm going through this because it's critical to understand all of these little aspects of how the system is designed to work and function against you. Because all of these things I'm sharing are not about what I know. What I know is irrelevant. It's about what you need to see so that you can understand what decision you have to make moving forward. Because this is stuff that's really happening in real time, right? If you go along this contract 1763 in the futures market, that's $10 per incremental move, $100 per point. So if this goes up from 1763 to 1764, you just made $100. If it goes down, you lost $100. So if you look at this contract and it dropped 58 points, that's $5,800 that somebody just lost in the blink of an eye, because that's how quickly it happens. It's happened to me, and it happens to a lot of traders. I remember the biggest loss I ever had, the biggest and quickest loss I ever had was probably like $3,400 in a gold short. And I remember exactly when it happened. Happened on November 28th, 2011. Why? Because that was a day that coordinated global monetary policy cemented itself in our financial markets. That was literally the day that volatility died. From that day forward, my trading pretty much went down the drain. And I had to realize that I didn't know what the hell was going on. So that's life, right? When the market does shit like this to you or like that, you don't got a chance in hell of surviving that.
Yeah, I mean, how would you have even predicted something like that?
You can't. That's the whole point, right?
Well, I mean, it's also a house of cards, unless you can. Most people can't see the house that they're built in because it's
right.
The blinders that you're in, right?
Right, but that's the whole point, right? That's what we're talking about. All of these things, all of these aspects of these so-called markets, which are free, because they're not, and they have never been, right? And this is the thing that's important to understand. When you have a market structure that's unlike a DEX, right? First in, first out, or however it's going to work, versus the actual structure of the market, right? Because these markets trade, these legacy markets trade how they trade for a reason. It's because of the order book design, the centralized order book design, and how orders react to size. And, you know, and once an order is placed, like they react to that, right? Whether it's close or far, people are looking at that other level of granularity in the price action, which is the order book. And they're trying to understand what market makers or other market participants are actually trying to do, right? Pretty straightforward, because how else are you trying to make this money? You're just going to throw it in the wind and see what happens? I don't think anybody really considers that a strategy, right? So all of these things, right? I mean, I'm talking about a whole historical perspective here, right? That most people don't even consider when they're thinking about investing in anything. But this is why it's important to understand why HEX is so superior, or just crypto as an asset class in general, assuming it is an actual crypto, right? Because it's real, right? When you have something cemented in an infrastructure like we have HEX cemented on Ethereum, you can't just shut that off because you feel like it. Like there's a whole thing that has to go into that. And if you don't understand what it requires, you can't go back there and do anything. And yes, I said back there because that's what it requires, right? How are you going to go unplug software from a system that you can't touch? Good question. You fucking can't. That's your answer. And the sooner we all realize that, the sooner we'll all make the right decision with respect to what it is we want our future to be. Because if you want to continue the same shit show that we've been living, well, I'm sorry, I'm not here for that. There's zero incentive in that. And this is why I'm explaining all these financial concepts and realities. You've been lied to your whole life. It's about time you come to terms with that shit and make the right decisions so you can better your financial future as well as your families, right? This isn't about just getting rich. Any schmuck can fucking do that. Pet Rock, Google it. Any schmuck can become rich. Question is, do you want to stay there? Or
you know what the best part about
more? Go ahead.
The best part about being a pet rock is you need a leash to be a pet. So that's the real difference between having a rock in the wild and being a pet rock, is you have a leash on you.
Right, but there was a guy that made millions off selling a pet rock.
Oh, no, I know, but I'm just saying the phrasing of it is that right. Say you become the pet because you have the leash on you to add the commoditable value. But yeah.
Right. I mean, it's critical, man. It's critical to understand these concepts, right? Because it took me a while to realize even that somebody, like, even though I knew, right? Because we know a lot of things, but we don't really put them in perspective sometimes. Like, I didn't really realize that somebody, like, even though I knew somebody made millions off of selling a pet rock, I didn't really realize somebody made millions off of selling a pet rock, if that makes sense, right? Like, that actually happened, and it's possible for anybody to do some dumbass shit like that and get away with it. Because if you ask me, dude got away with it. And I wish I could come up with something that dumb that requires no effort. I mean, that was purely marketing, right? I mean, it's crazy, bro. We're talking about a pet rock. We're talking about lake pebbles and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what he was selling. Shit you can walk to a park and pick up. Like, it's real. Right? And some people probably still got that shit in a box somewhere in their attic somewhere. Like, that shit ain't got no value, but somebody owns it. And the seller succeeded again. Right? Because, again, I get there's going to be people that don't want to be sovereign. They don't really want freedom, and that's okay. You don't got to want it. But here's the problem you're going to run into. You got a ton of motherfuckers that do, and there's not a lot of you. So good luck to you, because you're going to need it. Because people like us have nothing better to do. You literally have to understand that. So you can either stay on the wrong side of history or just stay on the wrong side of history, right? Because there's no other option if you're not joining the winning team. And in case you haven't seen that chart, that's just a precursor to what's coming.
And I think if you like, with just phrasing that, it's like you can be on the wrong side of history and be on the wrong side of time. Which one do you want to play on? Which chessboard?
Correct. Because either way, you're going to lose if you don't pick the right side. That's the thing. Whether it's time or strategy or demeanor or endeavor or whatever, right? The question is, do you want to actually be free, or do you just want to lie to yourself? That's the actual question. Because that's where things are going. That's where we are at. Look outside. Don't got to take my word for it. Just look outside. Very straightforward. Right? I mean, look at the chart. This is gold. Right? Now, what I would like to do is start the historical aspect of the presentation with the 4-minute clip of Nixon giving his why we're going off gold portion, right? Because, again, we have to understand that was a decision that was made not by the people, as Hex 19 let us know earlier. They just did it because they felt like it, and you were just going to deal with it. And here's a good excuse. Here's a good excuse we're going to give you, because you're a sucker. And you're going to believe whatever we tell you because that's how dumb you are. Like, that's literally what's going on in this world. And they've said it millions of times. These people have been hot mic'd saying this shit. Like, you believe because you choose to believe, not because anybody's putting a gun to your head. Right? So when you sit there and realize that, then maybe you can come on to the other side. But look at this chart. We've had trillions of dollars printed just in the last year, right? U.S. debt, yeah, right? You're gonna sit here and tell me that the price of gold is really below $2,000? Like, you can't realistically believe that after all of the charts that I've shown you. And if you haven't seen them because you're new, check all the other macro live streams, because I can't go through them right now. Sorry. So, come on. There is an actual supply of gold, right? Actual supply of gold, upon which we can take tally of and compare, right, its value relative to the amount of currency units, fiat currency units that exist on the planet, right? And we can get a price. Clearly, it's right here. I mean, how does that happen, right? That can't be a coincidence. It looks like some simple math to me. I mean, you got all these other numbers shooting up to the sky. All of these. But a store of value goes nowhere? Really? Like, really? Silver, nowhere. Gold, nowhere. Interesting. Income, nowhere. Let's see. What else is skyrocketing? Let's see. Oh, liability persistent. Sure, that's 6 figures. Why not? U.S. unfunded liabilities, 154 billion. Now let me see something. Size of the equity markets. See what we get here. I just want to see how levered this system is. Just based on equities. Excuse me, folks. Just looking for a number here. Okay, 28 trillion, right? Just in NYSE, North America. 1.4 trillion Middle East. Okay, so now we're getting some figures. I was looking for a total number. 23 trillion. 23, 28 plus 1. Right. So 69 trillion. I missed it. There you go. So we got unfunded liabilities of 154 trillion, 155. Zero par value assets that are valued at 69 trillion, because I've already shown you that every single piece of stock that exists on this planet, their par value, meaning their actual intrinsic value, is 0.00001. I've shown this. Check other macro streams. They're there. So we have all of this stuff just floating around considered value, right? We have all of these debts just piling up to the tune of 6 figures per person in this so-called nation. The claim is there are assets that supersede the liability. Now, we all know that shit isn't true, so we're not even going to address that. If you've never read a GAO report, in case you're questioning why I would not address that, well, let me help your ass out. I've read this shit too many times to give enough of a fuck to continue reading it. So I'll share the link with you, because you must understand that sometimes you got to educate yourself. It's not on the streamer to do it for you. Read the shit. I'm telling you what it is. You don't got to take my word for it. But you sure as hell can confirm what I'm saying is true. And that's what I'm all about. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm here to tell you, you need to find out what's going on. Right? That's what's different about me. I'm not here to tell you what to think. You don't gotta like it. Sure as hell gotta deal with it. If not, peace. Let's see. Probably here. Let's see. Annual report. Let's see. Is it not gonna give me the damn thing? Come on, man. Here we go. All right, you guys knock yourself out. I don't read these anymore. I know what a zero balance sheet looks like, but you guys can knock yourself out. Oh, one thing I will tell you to do is look at the asset side of the balance sheet. There's literally like one asset, and it's actually your student loan debt. The rest is really just tax revenue. So that's all you're working with. Yeah, that's all you're working with. Go ahead,
just because you can't bankruptcy student loan debt, it is the one asset.
Hold on. That actually changed in 2018.
Really?
I confirmed it. I don't remember when the hell it was, but yeah, that actually changed in 2018, because I know you remember, because I do. People were committing suicide and all kinds of crazy shit.
Interesting, because I did a chapter 13. It still, I mean, it wrapped it, but it didn't.
I think. When did you do it?
A year ago. 2 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
huh. Then
Yeah.
maybe it's only federal student
But
loan.
but that's inherently the trick of what you're talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Private student loan debt is where the whole
is, yeah.
right, that's that subprime mortgage right there, because people can't get out of it, that glass ceiling.
Nope. Sure is. I mean, just look at this. Total debt, 85, supposedly 85 trillion. Total personal debt. Now, imagine if you ran your household in the red like this. Do you think you would be able to get away with it? Of course not. Now, this all seems irrelevant, but it ties back to exactly what we're talking about. All of these things. Look at this shit. Operation Twist, Saturday Night Special, QE, QE2, QE3, QE4, QE5. For us folks that were living it, that's what the fuck it was. They can call it whatever they want here. Doesn't matter. QE1 through 5. That's what it was. Bootleg 25 basis point interest rate hike. Or maybe it was 50. I don't remember. 25. There you go. We all just lived through this bullshit. And again, it ties back to what I was talking about earlier, right? It's about understanding what is happening now. And what's happening now is that they're trying to box you in to thinking you have a clue, when in fact you don't. You don't actually know what's going on. And this is why these streams are so important. I take out so much of my time and am so adamant about the things that I say and stand for, just like our very own favorite crypto guy. Take the fucking cue. Understand what's actually going on right now is not a game. This is very real. Now let's get into it.
The third indispensable element in building the new prosperity is closely related to creating new jobs and halting inflation. We must protect the position of the American dollar as a pillar of monetary stability around the world. In the past 7 years, there's been an average of one international monetary crisis every year. Now, who gains from these crises? Not the working man, not the investor, not the real producers of wealth. The gainers are the international money speculators. Because they thrive on crises, they help to create them. In recent weeks, the speculators have been waging an all-out war on the American dollar. The strength of a nation's currency is based on the strength of that nation's economy. And the American economy is by far the strongest in the world. Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States. Now, what is this action, which is very technical, what does it mean for you? Let me lay to rest the bugaboo of what is called devaluation. If you want to buy a foreign car or take a trip abroad, market conditions may cause your dollar to buy slightly less. But if you are among the overwhelming majority of Americans who buy American-made products in America, your dollar will be worth just as much tomorrow as it is today. The effect of this action, in other words, will be to stabilize the dollar. Now, this action will not win us any friends among the international money traders. But our primary concern is with the American workers and with fair competition around the world. To our friends abroad, including the many responsible members of the international banking community who are dedicated to stability in the flow of trade, I give this assurance. The United States has always been and will continue to be a forward-looking and trustworthy trading partner in full cooperation with the
Now, guys, I paused it for a reason, right? I really want to rewind and go over this one specific part again because it's that important.
Is with the American workers, money traders. Now, this action will not win us any friends among the international money traders.
Did you catch that? Interesting. Let's keep listening.
But our primary concern is with the American workers and with fair competition around the world.
So, what was happening at this time that this would be a topic of discussion for this here specific situation where he's essentially saying, we got to make you a little broker, but hey, we know your life sucks right now because you have no work. But let's keep listening.
To our friends abroad, including the many responsible members of the international banking community who are dedicated to stability in the flow of trade, I give this assurance.
Did you hear who's he's providing an assurance to? Let's rewind one more time.
Is with the American workers and with fair competition around the world. To our friends abroad, including the many responsible members of the international banking community who are...
That's important. Don't forget that part because that's what this is all about.
Are dedicated to stability in the flow of trade, I give this assurance. The United States has always been and will continue to be a forward-looking and trustworthy trading partner. In full cooperation with the International Monetary Fund and those who trade with us, we will press for the necessary reforms to set up an urgently needed new international monetary system.
Now, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Because they sure as hell are trying to impose one now. And if you've been watching any of my streams for the past 5 months, specifically the macro ones, you've seen me highlight this most recently in the IMF stream, right? Where they literally rammed 650 billion in SDRs, right, into the global monetary system because why not?
Stability and equal treatment is in everybody's best interest. I am determined that the American dollar must never again be a hostage in the hands of international speculators. I'm taking one further step to protect the dollar, to improve our balance of payments, and to increase jobs for Americans. As a temporary measure, I am today imposing an additional tax of 10% on goods imported into the United States. This is a better solution for international trade than direct controls on the amount of imports. This import tax is a temporary action. It isn't directed against any other country. It's an action to make certain that American products will not be at a disadvantage because of unfair exchange rates. When the unfair treatment is ended, the import tax will end as well. As a result of these actions, the product of American labor will be more competitive, and the unfair edge that some of our foreign competition has will be removed. This is a major reason why our trade balance has eroded over the past 15 years.
All right, guys. Sorry, I was on mute there for a second. And again, this is
Let's
a
take
part.
a look at a United States $1 bill.
Sorry about that,
What
guys. Sorry about that. Again, that is just a snippet of the whole segment, right? And now all of these policies at the time were supposed to be temporary, right? Now, I paused it along the way, and I didn't want to, but I felt it was important because there were certain portions that I wanted to highlight that I really wanted you guys to hone in on and listen to because it's important, right? What they say, their reaction after they say it, all of that shit, more important than everything that you think you got going on in your life when they're talking. Why? Because all that does is let you know that they're lying. That's it. If you've ever seeing a person that profiles or just reads people or whatever, they're gonna tell you this dude is lying through his fucking teeth, right? I'm not a professional, but I know when somebody's bullshitting. And that nose rubbing was the biggest tell I've seen in years. Right after he said about his international money homies, right? And if you don't remember, let's go back to it because it's that important. Like, it's very important. Let's see, when did he rub his nose? Give me a second, guys. Just trying to see when he rubbed his nose. It must have been back here.
And with fair competition around the world.
Yeah, it's coming up.
To our friends abroad, including the many responsible members of the international banking community who are dedicated to stability in the flow of trade, I give this assurance. The United States has always been and will continue to be a forward-looking and trustworthy trading partner.
I know. I'm good. I'm that good. But the thing you have to understand is this isn't hard, right? This is not hard. The evidence is in your face. You either choose to see it or you don't. Now, the whole point of this orchestra, right, of this facade, was to merely allow them to print dollars at their beck and call. That's all. That's all this was about. So this is why, right, when we sit here and we take apart everything that's happened,
In full court,
right, throughout time, and why we have crypto, right? I mean, August 20th, 1970. Now, if this was never supposed to move, how did it start going up a year prior? Damn. It's crazy how you just find things when you're not even looking for them, huh? Well, let's see where it's at a year later. Well, that's about what, $8 on 35, right? That's not a small move. That's almost what, 40? No, that's not 40. 8 on 35 is what, 8 divided by 35. That's about 30 plus percent move, right? In short order, in a whole year, back in the day when money was actually not worth as little as it is today. So that's a huge move, right? You got to really relate to that. You gotta put that math in perspective because the markets react to that, right? So the market front ran this whole scenario. The market knew it was coming because it was already moving. It moved from 35 to 48 or 43, sorry. $8 move, 30 plus percent, right? Very straightforward. And this was, again, a year beforehand. Who knew, right? It's just like all those stock option trades that we all know about for 9/11, right? Who knew? Somebody knew, right? And that's the whole thing. You have to look at what's in front of you because the world does not lie, right? It doesn't. 22% move on gold in 1970 to 71. These moves did not happen back then, folks, because the system was fixed. So this is a problem. Are you guys understanding that? This is a problem. So in essence, the man here was left with no choice but to debase the currency. He had no choice. The market was already forcing their hand. And you're not going to hear that analysis in most places. This is exactly the type of thing you have to understand when it comes to why gold isn't going up. They don't want it to go up. They've been at this for 50 years, right? Covering over the physical market with the paper market. That's what they've been doing successfully for 50 years, right? And people that try to expose it are called whatever, right?
So Wales,
Yeah.
when on-chain gold transactions.
Don't know, bro. Because again, you're never going to have control, right? You don't have control of that gold. That gold is going to hit the market whenever it hits it. The question is, how are they going to track that gold, right? And that's the hard part. You're involving middlemen. Once again, don't think it really works. Like, it sounds cool, right? I get it. It's a gold asset on the blockchain, you know, cute and all that. But again, if you're involving middlemen, which is what it requires if
It
you're not
can't work.
storing, if
It
you're
can't
not
work
storing
because
the
it's
shit.
tied to a physical asset.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I put a 15 grand into the gold ICO on the blockchain nonsense back in like 17. It was the, you know, everyone chasing that promise ideal
Yep.
that never gets
It's
finished.
one of those
right?
good ideas that
Yeah,
never
it was.
panned
I mean,
out.
I still have that dust in my wallet. It reminds me not to play with fucking stupid Foober shit.
Yeah. I mean, you got to really think these things through, right? Like, what sense does that make? That's literally not crypto. Like, cool, it's in digital form. Congrats. But that's not crypto. You know, like, it's just not. It literally doesn't matter what you want to think. It's not crypto. Pretty straightforward, right? But I'm going to take my word for it. The authority has let you know already.
It's true. Like, it's so funny. If it's not complete, it ain't done. And if it ain't done, it ain't crypto. That's fine. You
It's
know
not
what I
even
mean?
about. It's not about complete. It's not about crypto. It's about. It's not about whether it's a project or not. Right. It's not even about that. It's less complicated, and I think that that message has been lost amongst a lot of people. The whole
I love this
notion of
tweet, by the way.
crypto, huh?
I said I love this tweet, by the way.
Oh, it's great because it highlights exactly what the fuck is going on. The whole notion of crypto is getting rid of intermediaries.
Yes, sir.
That is it. Whether it's finished or not, debatable. The whole simplistic notion is peer-to-peer, decentralized transactions, censorship resistant, tamper proof. Okay? All of these terms sound like buzzwords because you hear them all the time. But guess what? The only people that actually know what that looks like are in this damn chat.
Yep. You know, Richard Bach, it's a different angle of the quote, but you teach the best what you need to learn the most. But what's the most important part here? You and your future, because there is no middleman in you.
Nope. And I think that people really get lost in understanding that that's what this is all about. People are still too busy trying to fucking find out, well, what should I do so that I don't get in trouble? What the fuck are you saying? There's no such thing. Do what's best for your financial situation. There's like this is what sovereignty is all about. Sovereignty is about owning your own way, determining your own way, saying, yes, this is for me, this is not for me. Nobody is here to tell you what to do. If you're going to wait for mommy and daddy to tell you how to wipe your ass at the age of fucking 50, you got problems. You know, any age over 18, really, like you got, really, I mean, 10, okay, you got fucking problems.
I mean, that or you're a Doge holder. I'm riding the turtle. I mean, there's
right. Well, you know, as my man Kareem said graciously one day, Doge is a joke, and that joke is on you, motherfucker.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Come on. Like, you know, we talk about all these things for a reason. It's not because it's fun, right? It's because it's important, right? There's a reason you work and work and work and accomplish nothing, right? Even a 6-figure job nowadays only gets you but so far in life. And please don't have any responsibilities because you're fucked. Because then that's literally multiple rents that you're paying for something at some point. Whether you want to or not, it's just going to happen. Because things are priced like that. Like, that's it. It's about the value of the money. The value of the fiat that you use is money, right? Now, let's get into these little slides that I prepared. Because it's crazy, right? What we have to understand is that over time, what we've seen is just a simple destruction, right? And again, it's just a repeat of what we already have seen throughout time, right? And this is just going to be another representation of that. Let me just throw this up here.
You're saying the gold chart's going to repeat that or something else?
Something else. And by something else, I mean us. If we don't fucking stand fast on what the hell is right and what's not right. Right? Because if we continue to just sit on the wayside, and my favorite chart of all, or my favorite meme of all time, I mean, this is just great because it never fails. Never fails. Rise of the gold standard, right? From 1660 to 1820, gold was a standard for the main global economy, primarily the UK during this time, right? You had the transfer of power from what? I think it was Portugal, then Spain, then the Dutch, then the French, then the British, or some shit like that. Like, I don't remember the daisy chain anymore. Maybe it's the British, then the French after 1820. I don't remember exactly.
Crypto Kool-Aid.
I don't know if he's gonna know. Whole point is that all these things happened, right? Like this was a thing. Like the gold standard was a thing. It existed for a long time, right? But again, it goes back to understanding the mission, right? And I always say it, and people don't want to believe it, but yo, the mission is total control. Right.
Well, I mean, if you look back in time, actually, it was the people that owned the gold actually owned the knowledge, whether that's learning how to read, whether that's learning how to build road, whether that's learning how to hold commodity. Those people held the land, those land held the people, those people held the trade. So the gold and the knowledge and the connection were all intertwined into one. I mean, they didn't have fax machine maximalists or even carrier pigeon maximalists back then, but they didn't need it. That's right. They didn't need it. They only needed to communicate with those who could attack within a 2-day sprint of yourself. Right. And so, like, the world has changed vastly since the 1600s. But, I still like to think that they had, carrier pigeon maximalists.
I'm going to walk down a block maximalist. I don't do nothing else.
That's right. That's right. Skipping all the goddamn day.
Right. That's it. But yeah, this really existed, right? So how did it exist back then? But then there was like, no thanks, right? And this is why I go through all of these things. History is literally the most important subject, and that's why it's the least respected by the mainstream. Because they don't want you to know your past. Your past is the key to your future. That's why they don't want you to know it. That's why they spit on history. They treat it like it's a stepchild. Think about it. How many people in here have literally sat down and said, yeah, I love history? Not many. Right? Like, that's just not a natural thought that you have as a kid. Some of us naturally like it. I was one of those people, but some other people learn to like it. Right? Yeah, day 43. You nailed it. But the interesting thing is that during this time, what was happening is that they would go on and off, right? They would switch on and off, right? They would turn the printer on, go back to their gold standard, turn the printer off. Turn the printer on, turn the printer off, back to the gold standard, right? Like, that was a process, right? We had greenbacks at the time. We've had all kinds of shit, right? Now, the British government's decision to allow the free exchange of gold allowed for the establishment of gold coinage, right? This is important. This is important because this is when the money actually changes, right? We're no longer talking about fiat units. We're not talking about something that actually serves a purpose, right? Like, it's crazy. It's how you learn, right? You literally see that they allowed gold coinage at one point in time. They, meaning the persons that control the show, because we must realize nothing's changed but the date. Look outside. What has realistically changed? Nothing. You own nothing. You think you do? Well, go ahead. Don't pay those taxes. Let me know how that works out for you. Let me know how much you own. You really own a claim, a financial claim to a specific asset. Everything is centralized. You own nothing, right? Like, this is the biggest thing that people do not understand about present day realities. If you own something, you wouldn't have to pay anything on it. Simple, straight up. That's just what it is. So what this means is that you're actually being taxed on what you think you own, but you don't actually own anything. Because if you did, you wouldn't be able to be taxed on it in the first place, right? It would just be yours outright, and that would be the end of that. But no, that's not how it works. What happens is that you got to pay just because you're there, not for any specific purpose. You see, and this is where the manipulation in the system comes from, right? Like, no, you can't just be giving these clowns money because they asked for it. But yet and still, here we are, 400 years later, doing the same fucking thing, going on 500 years. Like, what the fuck? Or 400 years, sorry. 450, whatever the number is. I don't even know. I don't care. Because I'm ranting right now. This is what an educated rant sounds like, right? Like, this whole gold stream is really me ranting. Because this is stuff I've had in my head for fucking decades. And I don't understand why people act like it's not out there. You know you get paid less every single year. Why don't you try to find out why? I don't understand. I did, and I found out. They're not hiding it from you. Right? Like, they're really not. And that's important to understand, guys, because this is the only way you are gonna find freedom. And now everybody wants to not be tied to a desk, to a job, to whatever. Everybody wants to do what they want. Now, some people love their job. Now, the question then becomes, well, how could they do that differently, right? Because, look, to me, Wall Street wasn't just a job, right? Like, there's a reason I know all this shit. It's because I really dig it. And that's why I know that's the wrong move, because I fucking know. Look at my resume. Look at the YouTube. Pretty obvious, right? Like, there's shit on there that you're not gonna fucking hear on CNN and all this other funky places that talk about finance. They don't talk to you about anything that matters. They talk to you about bullshit, right? The sooner you realize that, the better off you are, because that's when you start making the right financial decisions. Because again, it's not about me. I already know this shit. I'm good, right? Like, you got to realize that I'm good. I don't need none of this. I already got it. So my objective here is for you guys to really grasp the seriousness in my voice, the reality of the information that's being shared, because again, we have sources here, right? This is all legal documentation that these people are pulling from. And of course, I made sure to confirm, because it's about what's true. And if it's on public record, they can't hide that. So it's very important, again, to understand what is going on, because this is how we make the right decisions. We're already going to be rich, guys. Get over it. Like, nobody gives a fuck about that. That ship has sailed and gone. If you don't know you're going to be rich by now, then I don't know what to do for you. But you need to go back and watch all these streams. Like, it's very, very straightforward. As a matter of fact, watch my chart set videos. They're shorter, and you don't even need to watch all this other craziness. It's all math. If you need to understand how you're going to be rich, chart set videos. If you want to understand how to get wealthy, macro streams, HEX.LIVE. Because these streams talk about what's really going on, how you can defend yourself against what's going on, right? Understand that they literally had things working and decided to make it not work. So how did the gold system work? Well, under that monetary system, all countries fixed the value of their currencies in terms of a specified amount of gold, or linked to their currency to that of a country which did so, right? So this is basically economic activity. You either, and of course, whether it's via gold or the currency of that country, you're still tying it to your economic productivity, because everything is based on what's real, right? When it's based on actual economic value, right? Like we see in the T-share system every day, right? That thing does not stay down. It goes up every single day. And that's a function of design for value, right? Like, that's really what it is. So it's important that people understand that, because again, it's about value here, right? Understanding where value comes from and where it's going is what made this investment decision for myself, right? Because I'm talking about me now and what I see, not about what a fact is. I'm talking about my opinion here. When I found Hex and realized what it was, right, I have a unique vantage point because I come from Wall Street. I understood exactly what this did. I understood the value proposition immediately, because the reality is that everybody is searching for this value proposition. Whether they know or not, that's their problem, but they're searching for it. And this is why when most people find Hex, it's a godsend. They have nothing but good things to say, right? And that's important, right? And this is a great comment by Hex19. I mean, look, for me, it was hard to get off the bottle, right? When I found Hex is when I really was like, okay, it seems like I'm really just wasting my time over here, because you're waiting for trades to develop. They're not always there. Your pitch is your trade. If you're just sitting at a desk clicking, then you're losing money. You're not trading, right? You're not trading. Uh, you know, you're literally just clicking and throwing money away. That's not trading. Making a trade is the same thing as finding Hex, buying it, and holding it. Many won't see it that way, but in reality, yeah, that's exactly what that is. Because what's happening is you're exchanging one thing for another. Now, what is the same thing as an exchange? Well, it's called a trade. Now, what determines whether something is an investment or not is literally the duration upon which you hold that asset, right? But again, on the other side of that, it's still a trade, because you're swapping out that asset for something else then again. So it's really just a characterization of time, when you're talking about investment versus trade. Just so everyone is clear on that. So again, right, you had economies that were tied to things, right? Tied to measures of value, right? And when you find a measure of value that's personal to you, you don't need to do anything like any of these things Hex19 is talking about right here. When he found crypto in 2017, he stopped trading options, no leverage since. And it feels like he stopped drinking. And it's exactly right. Like, I think about trading all the time because it's what I'm used to doing. I spent 10 plus years doing just that. But you have to understand risk and opportunity cost. Hex only goes sideways, but for so long. Only but for so long. Like, only but for so long. So you got to really.
That's so long. It's like 3-4 weeks at this
point.
Yeah. Like we were talking about the dragon earlier eating its own tail, and the straw that it creates, that it, as it ratchets up, the straw gets bigger.
Yep. I mean, it's a funny thing, because it's exactly how markets work, right? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The higher the price goes, the more that people are going to be interested in that thing by default, because the number has gone up. So in essence, what they're going to expect is more of the same, because that's just how people think. They extrapolate linearly, especially in the West. So that's just how people think by default, right? They're not trained to think in magnitudes of order of effect, right? Now, I don't know why, but it seems pretty obvious to me. Or, when A happens, what's happening to B, what's happening, right? Because everything has a cause and effect, right? But the reality is that sometimes that cause and effect might not be obvious. And that's the honest reason as to why people don't really try to ascertain the orderly effects, right? Why did this happen versus that? Well, a lot of the time, trying to understand those second and third order effects are what separates you from buying Hex and not buying Hex, right? Like, once I found Hex, you guys got to understand, I already had all this information that I'm sharing with you in my head. This is literally a no-brainer to me, but that's me. My objective is to help you understand how this is also a no-brainer, and it could be for you too, because once you understand the macro framework, like what's actually going on outside of your home and your local town and your national jurisdiction, you realize that this is a very serious situation, right? Look, we're talking about the UK. Not that many people in the UK right now watching this stream because their asses are asleep for the most part, right? So this is how far back and how far this situation goes, right? And yeah, this is true too. I mean, I think this is true probably in most places, right? Anywhere that's Western or whatever. Like even China now, right? Like Asians are very big on. They've been trading for centuries, right? Like nobody needs to tell them what to do. Not even centuries, millennia. So they have an idea of what they're doing over there. Like for example, I have a friend. He's Chinese, college buddy. His family's from China. They went to Hong Kong, and they were part of that group of people from Hong Kong that they were there in the 70s, 80s, right? They were there in the heyday, and they eventually left because, as we all know, that was going to go south because that's just how it goes, right? Sad but true. But here we are, the last stand, right? And this is why we're having these conversations, right? To understand why you need to have your money in Hex is one thing. To understand why crypto is the only way forward, something completely else. And this is what all of my streams are about, to help everybody pretty much understand the decision that they need to make. You can like fiat all you want. No problem there. But the problem is that you're choosing the wrong side, because that side is the side that has deliberately boxed you into thinking that that's what you need. You don't need that shit. You've been lied to your whole life. Sources at the bottom. Fall of the gold standard, right? Now, this is kind of when it happened. And we're going to go through some charts to kind of highlight the beginning crack in the system, right? Because it goes back really to Civil War era. And I'll give you a little historical perspective as to why shortly. But as with everything, nothing happens by mistake or coincidence. It's all by design, right? So we started in the 1660s with a pretty robust monetary system that they would switch on and off whenever they wanted, right? Now, if you didn't watch my original central banking stream and how they work and all that, go back and watch it. I go into how central banks work at the beginning of this monetary system, which is the fiat reserve banking system, right? Fractional reserve banking system, excuse me. I talk about that in that stream, the fractional reserve banking stream, and I also talk about it in the specific central banking stream. So please watch those. They're very educational. They'll help you understand where you're sitting and where you're standing at all times. So the classical gold standard existed from the 1870s to the outbreak of the First World War, right? But this was the last leg of it, because as we know, it's existed really since then, and it just took different variations, right? It's just a matter of what we recognize over here in the West, right? So we all know after World War One, or well, maybe we don't know, but we'll get into it. The gold panic of 1869 was really the first black eye. That was major, right? But this is really from a market perspective. Something happened during the Civil War, and we'll touch on that after we go through this. But it's important to understand that this was the first market-specific action that was a cornering of the gold market. Right now, I'm not saying this is the first time somebody tried it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that in our history, this was the first instance of this happening. And what ended up happening, now this was a political battle between this individual of the time, which was a conglomerate executive at the time. He ran a lot of the major railroads in the nation. So he had fucking power, because when you control logistics, you control. Right? And this is America in the 1870s, 1860s. So we're talking about not necessarily raw capitalism, because that's not what that was. But the government didn't have the ability to tell anybody what to do. And this individual was no different. However, what happened is that he didn't understand the market, and the market made him pay, right? And of course he ended up, because again, you can corner a market all you want, man. Unless it's all of the supply, irrelevant. And we're talking about a gold market in the 1860s. So good luck to him on that one, right? Like, it literally makes no sense, because the gold market has only grown in size since then, right? But the only thing that's helped the price of the gold is the fact that there's trillions of dollars in existence. So you have to realize, right, when you're looking at gold, it's like looking at Bitcoin or HEX individually. They stand alone, just like gold stands alone. So what you're seeing when you're looking at the price of gold in a chart form, right, is literally how gold has performed versus the dollar. And it's just like, let's pull up our favorite chart. Where the hell is my other browser? Oh man, what is going on here? Where the hell is my other? Oh, here we go. Okay. Damn it. Sorry, guys. Come on. Okay, so let's just use this since this doesn't like my typing. Now, yeah. I mean, you just gotta understand, man. Like, this is just a new era, right? Gold is physical. If it's not physical, you don't actually own it. So if you're happen to be one of these people that magically owns a ton of gold and you keep rolling contracts thinking you're going to get delivery, you're not. Never going to happen. I'm sorry. Do an audit of the COMEX vaults if you like. Good luck to you, because they're never going to let it happen, because they don't do that, right? And again, this goes back to what is actually going on, right? Now, let's get back to a presentation here. And let's keep pushing this forward. Crypto King, yeah. Tim Osmond, right? If you guys don't know who he is, look him up. Important character in this story. I didn't even get to, I'm gonna mention that. Thank you for reminding me. I forgot about that. And that was actually in 1933 when he passed that executive order season ago. And we're gonna pull that up. Don't worry, we're gonna pull that up. But the important thing to note, right, is that this individual attempted to corner the market of gold due to political pressures at the time, whatever he wanted to do, right? Or market pressures that he thought existed, whatever the case is. I think it has something to do with corn or whatever have you. I don't remember exactly anymore. But long story short, homie got wrecked, right? Because you just can't pretend. Because so when you're cornering a market, that means you're buying all the time, every day. You're buying up all the supply possible, right? In order to do that, that's, physically, that's not as easy as it sounds. This is 1860s we're talking about here, right? Okay, so the aftermath. Eventually, people caught on to what was going on, right? And this is, again, it goes back to the whole problem with centralization, right? This is what happens when you deal in centralized markets. Now, we're talking about 1860s, so this is as centralized as this could get, right, for the 1860s. But here's the thing. Logistics are everything, even when it comes to the markets, right? Because, again, markets are a value transfer mechanism, aka transmission of value. So you have to understand that things don't just happen Johnny on the spot because somebody clicked the button or said buy or sell, right? Like, there's a process that goes into it, and it's, it takes time. So the market even fell 20% because, now this is going to sound familiar to you if you've been watching my streams, speculators who had shorted gold had to fire sell other securities to cover their shorts. Now that sounds familiar, right? Because what happened is these people were short the gold, but this individual was buying it up, right? But they were short because what happens is that when somebody's making a market, they're actually selling you what they owned, or they're opening a position themselves. Because in the futures market, for example, this is the best example to use for this. When a trade is initiated, that position is now recorded as new on both sides of the balance sheet, buyer and seller. For the seller, it becomes a liability. For the buyer, it becomes an asset. Pretty straightforward. So if you're short an asset and the price is constantly going up, margin call, and we all know what margin call is if you're watching this stream. So this is why these brokerage houses went bankrupt, right? Now, look at what this dude ended up doing to protect himself, right? Now, it reads as if it's just from a settlement of unfavorable trades, but better believe this person was a target because he literally made people bankrupt, right? And these are the kind of things that happened back then, right? So now let's talk about what happened during Civil War era, the Greenback era, right? Now, this is what I'm talking about, right? This chart is actually made correctly. Now, why is that? Well, gold is always $100, aka gold is always one. So the only thing that actually changes is the value of dollars versus gold, i.e., how much trash is out there chasing gold, right? Now, this is an important comment, right? Because we literally spend our time as individuals trying to learn this crypto system, this crypto space, this prominent coin space, whatever you want to call it. We're trying to learn this, right? But we have to come with some basic knowledge or something like that, right? We all know something from somewhere. So the question is, what do we know? Read the title, bro. So it's important to understand that, right? We all try to learn these things, and we all have an idea. It's continual learning that gives us a full picture of what's going on to the point that we're not lost in making piss poor decisions, right? Because this was a piss poor decision by the US government of the time, because what they did was just create crazy ass inflation at the time. And this is what you see in this chart. Because again, you didn't have printing presses and all this electronic shit to subvert the reality of what was going on. You couldn't just psyop the masses, right? You couldn't just do it then. That's easy now, clearly, right? So that's the whole point. It's important to understand this, man. Like, I can't not impress how serious this shit is. Like, gold is at 1708 now, or whatever the price is. In 1865, it did a 65% dip. 1864. Like, how many devaluations do we have to sit through? The one from 1970, we're still dealing with that one today, right? Like, people need to understand that. We're still dealing with that. The consequences of this action that was taken August 1971, today, right? Like 50 years later, right? 4,678% later. That's how much your fiat has decreased against the store of value. And you think that's what you need to be looking to cash out into? That's your saving grace. Now, if you want some right now money, yo, that's fine. Do whatever you got to do. We're talking about long term here. I'm not talking about next week. I don't give a fuck about next week. Hold on. Jesus. All right, let's see if we get lucky. So it's important to understand these things, right? Like, and here we are seeing it again. This is inflation. What do you think this is? Right, and here we go again, looking at the 1930s. Right now, I don't have any slides for this, so for this portion, we're gonna straight Google. So where the hell did this browser go? Here we go. 1780 is the price, by the way, not 1708. So FDR confiscates gold, private gold. Excusez-moi. Important distinction there, right? Here we go. Executive Order 6102. Right? Because again, it's important. Oh, come on. Speak of the facts as given to us on public record. Okay? Now, this guy is one of the biggest commies of all time, but he's celebrated like if he's, I don't know what the hell. I honestly don't know. Like if the people that celebrated this guy actually knew anything, they wouldn't celebrate it. Right? So, go figure. Anyways, so here we have April 5th, 1933. By the virtue of the authority invested in me in section blah, 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 right? 1917. Now, what happened in 1917? And again, guys, it's about connecting these damn dots, right? It's about connecting these damn dots. And Executive Order 6102, folks. It's about connecting these dots. What happened after 1917? The old monetary order was gone. No longer possible, right? No longer available to you as a citizen, right? That's it. Done. You are now tied to what we say because, excuse me, as of that point in time, we decreed it so and you let us. That's what this shit here is. Because I guarantee you, nobody alive in 1933 knew about that thing that they wrote in 1917. Because that's the whole point. That's the whole point. Right? Keep you looking left while they're doing everything on the right. That's what this divisiveness is all about. This is what the race baiting is about. This is what the mask no mask is about. Vaccine no vaccine. All these things are all the same. Masked differently for your pleasure. What tickles your stupidity? That's literally all it's for. This tickles mine. This is what tickles my stupidity. This is what triggers me. Not some fake science shit. This, because this is real. This can be verified, replicated, and studied ad hominem, ad infinitum, add whatever the fuck you want to it. But this is not fake. This is real. It's on record, public record, can be verified umpteen times over. You want to know how many times I studied this fucking shit? I lost count. So many times I don't remember half the shit because it just escapes you. How many times do you read the same thing? But it's so important. So important because not everybody knows this. And this is what this is about, right? So section 1. Now again, executive order given to him by some shit in 1917. Like what? Like how do you even connect those dots, right? Like this is crazy. So what could you not do, right? Let's get into this. do declare that said national emergency. So they're using an emergency situation. Damn. Well, what? Well, hold the fucking phone. That sounds familiar. Hold on. Let me zoom this in a little bit more. Are we seeing this? Existing an act to provide relief in existing national emergency. Huh. That really sounds familiar. Well, shit, are we going through one right now? Is that why I'm confused? Must be, but I can't fucking tell when I look outside, but they sure as hell keep saying that shit, though. Right? Right? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Crazy, huh? And you think there's some real shit going on outside. Silly you. No. It's all lies like it always has been. Look at my homies fucking hold on. How do I get the damn look at Axis's logo? You seen that meme before? Always has been. Always has been. And this is why reading is the most important thing you can do for your life. If you don't read, you're gonna just fuck. You're just gonna be fucked. Period. There's no YouTube stream that will save you. I'm sorry if you think that that's what this is. This is not that. Never gonna be. Ben told you that. So what did he say? Right? Due to national emergency and still continues to exist and pursuant to blah 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 blah. Right? Whatever bullshit. Do hereby prohibit the hoarding of gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates within the continental United States by individuals, partnerships, associations, and corporations, and hereby prescribe the following regulations for carrying out the purposes of this order. Now, look, I just want to highlight this one specific part again for those that like to think that they can just segregate assets legally and not be fucked with. I'm just going to leave that right there. You fucking read that. Educate yourself. Because I can only tell you but so much. You could ignore it if you want. Good luck to you. Moving right along. Section 1. For the purposes of this regulation, the term hoarding means the withdrawal and withholding of gold coin, gold bullion, or gold certificates from the recognized and customary channels of trade. Wow. Like, you guys see that, right? Like, you can't buy nothing. Sorry, just because we said no. Okay, cool. Section 2. All persons are hereby required to deliver on or before May 1st of 1933 to a Federal Reserve Bank or branch or agency thereof, or to any member bank of the Federal Reserve System, all of their fucking wealth. Thank you. Come again. It's been fun fucking you. This is what happens when you play in their system. This is why gold is a stupid investment. This is where we now turn to HEX. This is now what everybody's been waiting for. So now you guys can leave me alone. HEX and Pulse Chain segment comes now. Because you have to understand why they fucking matter. You want to get paid? You want to get rich? Hey, that shit's already happening. Like, you don't need me to tell you that. If you came here for that, I'm sorry. You're in the wrong stream. Exit, go elsewhere, because this ain't the one for you. If you don't know that by now, I can't help you. You need more help than that. Right? And if you're new, shout out to you. Appreciate you, Luke. I see you in the chat, brother. We ain't got nothing else to do. We got nothing else to do. What else do you have to do? You got something else better to do than fight for your freedom? Please enlighten me. I would love to hear this retort, because you don't fucking got one. What do you have? What? You got freedom? Okay, go fly somewhere. Let me know how that works out for you, unless you got a private jet. And then if you do have a private jet, let me know what happens when they just tell you, no, you can't leave. What you going to do then? Because guess what? You can't just pick up and fly the jet out of that airport. You fucked. You stuck right there. Oh, you didn't think of that, huh? You just thought you was good with a private jet. Should have had a backup at some undisclosed airfield, motherfucker. Decentralization strikes again. Again, guys, I'm not gonna let up. This shit here, non-stop. What else do you have to do? You want to wait for another one of these? Because let me tell you, they already told you it's coming. Right?
I mean, that infrastructure bill trying to say that you can't have unregulated wallets outside of whatever their ecosystem is.
They can say whatever they want, right?
Oh, sure. I'm just saying that's very dangerous language in the very same language that they used before.
Right, but the important thing to understand. Oh, look at what they did. They got it out of the video. Something went wrong. To continue, contact our support team. Make sure you have your IP address and mention the code, yada, yada.
Hold on. What's going on? Hold on.
This is World Economic Forum, their own link. Great Reset. Yeah, people think I make this shit up. No, motherfuckers, here's the link. I don't make nothing up.
That's why I love you, man. Like, you literally come with the fucking war machine. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm going to get some popcorn and fucking learn a minute.
Here's the thing. We have to understand, I've said this numerous times before, they don't hide anything. They let you know. They announced this publicly. They didn't hide it. Now, you might not have been looking, but that's your own fault. Because trust me, they're out here raping you left and right. And you might not give a fuck, but that's your own problem. Now, here's what I'm going to enlighten you with, because I understand I was a normie at one point in time too. So please don't take my rash talk as being demeaning or down talk. This is just so important, and I'm so adamant about it, that it really bothers me that people just don't care about where their life goes. I don't know why you don't care about your life, but these people determine what your life is going to be. You actually do not. Breaking news, you might not realize that. But yeah, that's how it actually works. Now, understand the headings here, right? How is this an opportunity exactly? For whom? Has anybody really progressed on the back of this so-called call for action by these folks? No, nobody has, but yet they're calling it a unique window of opportunity to shape the recovery. But what recovery do we actually need when nothing was broken in the first place? In fact, everything was swimmingly fine up until they decided to shut the shit down. Now, we were all alive in March 2020, so don't sit here and tell me every country did not decide to shut its own economy down. That's exactly what the fuck happened. Right? That's exactly what the fuck happened. Exactly. Verbatim. Now, I'm not talking about the Rona. I'm talking about economics here. Because this is related to everything we're talking about. You can't pretend to want to be rich and not understand how they're going to fuck you if that's all you have is fiat. Because we've reached the point of no return for gold. Gold is no longer a store of value that's feasible, because until the lock that the paper market has on the physical market, it can't be. Pretty simple. It's not my opinion. Look at the fucking price. Look at the quantity of money that exists in the world. Don't got to take my opinion, because my opinion is not relevant. This is mathematically true. You take into account the quantity of money that exists in the world. Take into account the quantity of gold that exists. You take into account the additional quantity of money that enters the system daily. You look at that chart of gold. You're going to sit there and tell me that's something you should be holding? In 2021, mind you. Because I'm talking about 2021. I'm not talking about 2010. I'm not talking about 2001. I'm not talking about 1950. All right? I'm talking about 2021. Right? So why am I making that point? Well, I'm making that point because it's important to understand that this is the future. This is not 1980. This is not 1950. This is not 1930. This is 2021. And in 2021, you have HEX. And hopefully before 2022, we'll be fortunate enough to have Pulse Chain. Now, again, this is an opportunity in time for real. This is a real opportunity, not a fake one. Okay? Not a fucking fake opportunity. A fucking real opportunity. Because this shit here is what they always do. Right? Great reset. Looks familiar. Because the context. Let's see. No, they gotta have. Here we go. There is an urgent need for the so-called global. Now, I don't know who a global stakeholder is. I've never met one. I don't know if you guys have, but if you have, please point me in their direction so I can ask them how they got to this status. I would like to be a global, quote unquote, stakeholder as well. How do you hold
Sounds a lot like Nixon's speech.
Right. It sounds a little funky.
Special interest banks of the sort. And now, I mean, you got probably individuals with that size of wealth.
Could be. I mean, we know who George Soros is, right? He's one of those individuals with that size of wealth. Warren Buffett comes to mind. Charlie Munger comes to mind. Jeff Bezos comes to mind. Bill Gates comes to mind, right? All these people, Peter Thiel, all these people come to mind. Elon Musk come to mind. They're all part of the same gang. You think they're different, but they are not. Hate to be the bearer of bad news for those of you Tesla lovers. You are siding with the enemy. You don't even know it. But it's okay. Wells is here to save your day. You're welcome. Because that's just what it is. You can't have the same language used throughout and you not think it's related. Like, don't be a fool. Seriously. Now, if you opt to be a fool, good for you. But don't say you weren't told and that you didn't know. That's all I'm saying, because I sure as hell am laying this shit out very simply. Right? Now, we have the ability to own our own wealth to a degree that they can't do a fucking thing about it. And we're making, and by we, I mean the whole Promise Coin space community, crypto / Promise Coin space, because there are some of us within the Hex community which are not seeing straight. And that's okay. We'll try to get them in line. If they choose to, great. If not, good luck to them. Because again, the standards will not be wavered. They will stand fast. I have nothing better to do, honestly. Clearly, I'm always streaming, so I obviously have no life, right? At least that's the way it seems. So the whole thing is, you have to understand the big picture. And some of us, no matter how intelligent, don't always get the big picture, but that's fine, because I specialize in that. And that's the whole point. We all add value in our own way. The question is, how do you bring value to the table? That's on you. I found my way, and I'm doing it right now. So while some of us might not all see the same thing, we all eventually will, because we come with nothing but facts here. And that's the whole point. Right? That's the whole point. You read all of this stuff. These people are telling you cannot own anything of value. Anything but, like, no, you are fucked. You cannot. And then if we find you with this shit, whoever willfully violates any provision of this executive order or of these regulations or of any rule, regulation, or license issued thereunder. Now, I'm not going to get into these words, but these words are very important because you don't realize that they mean nothing. You're tricked into believing that these words have weight. But if you just delete that code, that text in the HTML, it's no longer there. That's how real they are. If you burn this paper up. It's gone forever. That's how real these words are. They came from a man. They came from men. You make it so, not them. This is what's important to realize about legislation and all this bullshit psyop that they do. This only worked because people did it. They didn't have to do anything. Do we understand the message that's being relayed here tonight? It's very serious because you're trying to amass wealth. You think you're just going to be able to keep it in fiat, but I got bad news for you. It's not how it works. Now, they're talking about made up shit, may be fined not more than $10,000, or if a natural person may be imprisoned for not more than 10 years or both. And any officer, director, or agent of any corporation who knowingly participates in any such violation may be punished by a like fine, imprisonment, or both. Now, if you were really living in a free country, you really think that they would have to do that? Now, again, this is 1933. Right? Like, you can say anything you want about whatever the fuck was going on. If you're free, you're free. Nobody needs to tell you shit. That's important. Nobody needs to tell you shit.
Yeah, man, freedom's a mindset.
Yeah, clearly not everybody has it.
No, so it's a long, grueling path, as you've foretold.
Yeah, it is.
Tonight.
Yeah, it is. It's not easy. I mean, look at all the little, and here's the thing, guys. I didn't even get detailed, right? I really just glanced over the golden history because I understand that there's so many parts to all of this, right? There's a lot of moving parts here with respect to what we're doing, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of moving parts.
It's all repeating itself for a new generation.
Yeah, correct. Right, because nothing changes. Everything is the same throughout time. The question is, do you realize that? That's the question. Because there's a reason I'm able to see clearly, and it's honestly just because I'm a student of history. Nothing else.
Can I say something, Wells, or at least quote something I tend to like?
Sure, bro.
On the path of the righteous man beset all sides of inequities, on the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Because blessed in who is the name of charity and good, and the shepherds of the weak through the valley of darkness. And he is truly my brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. For I will strike down with great vengeance and furious anger, aka the whales, for you poison and destroy my brothers, and you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance of finance upon thee.
That's right.
That's right.
Hey, they used to call me a bad motherfucker when I was younger.
I mean, you know I have the wallet. Do you know I have the wallet? Well, that's like professionally they call me the wolf because I'm the fixer. So like I didn't know you called the wolf. You call and say. That's it.
But, that's the thing. All of these things that we're talking about, right? They're relevant. They're tied, man. Like, it seems like we go on a tangent, but we don't. Look at this chart. Like, this chart is all-time HEX price history. What do you think this means? I mean, what other chart that you know looks like this? I have not seen one. Like, I just have not seen one. There isn't one that I know of that looks like this.
I mean, that's because it's programmed to do so. And because it's programmed to do so, it inherits all antiquities of classic movement of mass. And because it does that, it eats those inherent principles as well. It's that same pendulum that Axis was talking about earlier with the double moons, or the sleuth through the straw. And no one's seen this before because there's never been a completed functioning product that's been released into the wild. They call that the Pandora's box.
Correct.
So percent gains wise, you can't compare this chart to the one I'm about to talk about. But if you look at the Microsoft chart, it actually doesn't look that much different than this chart. And like any kind of tech company that's like network based like that, like especially Microsoft and the Amazon chart, where it was really where the network effect really showed growth in the chart. Like for example, the more popular Amazon got, the more shipping and logistics was added, and the more users were onboarded to Amazon. Same thing here with Windows, so Microsoft. So the more people that are using Windows, you just see this like growth. That's like just horizontal or 45-degree growth. So I mean, if on the hex chart you'd have your huge explosive first move is similar to this here. They just said it's all compressed down into a much smaller time frame. So yeah, this actually doesn't look too much different than the hex chart here. Yeah, like that first impulsive move. Yeah, you could. It's actually just like a fractal. So like the little pattern plays out in the bigger pattern, too. Pretty neat.
Do you lose your mic, Wales, or whoever's driving charts?
Shit, yeah, my shit was on. I'm sorry, my shit was on mute. I didn't even realize.
I'm the eye in the sky, sir. You're good.
Yeah, appreciate that. Hold on. So what I was trying to say was, I'm talking about like the initial thrust, right? Like out the gate, and it goes back to what Crypto Kool-Aid said, right? It's really just because it's programmed that way. But the kicker is that nobody really understands that. Literally, like people in Hex don't even understand this shit, and we say it all the time. Richard says it all the time, and they're still lost. Like people don't really get that. I mean, you have people like, what are you selling out of? Look at this fucking chart. Like, what are you doing? Where exactly are you putting your money?
No,
Right?
you can know where this chart's gonna go right now. I mean, come on.
Right, but people don't respect this. Like, look at this. This is a fucking okay. So 30% range, 9 to 12, or 25% range. Excuse me, 9 to 12. Right? 25. 25%. We're talking math here. This is 6 months. This is what I was saying earlier, okay? That's 4 months or 5 months. 6 months. 1,590%. Somebody tell me again Microsoft is like fucking Hex. You understand? Like, no, it's not. Can't be. This is not the same as that. It can't be because it was not. Right? And the reason is because this traded person to person. It wasn't electronic. Right? So what had to happen was, it's just like you said, people had to find out. Right? Here, here, people already knew. Right? And that was the biggest difference. That's the biggest difference that you have with crypto or promise coins versus stocks. People aren't going to necessarily know about a stock until it's made known. Right? And this is where we get the Amazons, the Googles, and all of that. Right? Because then it became popular, the IPOs, right? Like, you got to understand, there's like a whole wave, right? And all this shit starts from some other point in time. And this is why these things are just not straightforward and cut and dry, right? Like, as much as we would like them to be, they're just never gonna be, because at the end of the day, you have to remember, they're defending this, right? They're defending this, but look, gotta realize, this is what happens here. Imagine holding an asset for 12 years and it doing nothing. I don't care if it paid dividends or not, because this probably is a dividend paying stock. I really don't remember, and I honestly don't care, because nobody invests in stocks for dividends. Let's be honest. Mostly normies and people that specifically opt to do that. Nobody actually really, like cares about that shit. Okay, a whopping 76 basis points annual APY. There's your yield. So, alrighty, good for whoever is getting that yield. But you're looking at a chart that essentially, if you held it, did nothing for 12 years. Right? 12 years. Now, maybe the dividend was high and it was worth holding at that point in time since it never dumped. But I don't know. Doesn't look like this to me. And that's all I do know. Right? Now, HEX is honestly low volatility because it stays within a specific band. And when it does get volatile, it stops. It literally stops, corrects, and keeps going. And that's what we see. Right? Like you had this huge move. Market went sideways for months. Ran up into big payday and sold off. But, the trend was basically the same. If you take the average of all these prices, I'm pretty sure it's going to probably be somewhere in here. 0.3%, because the majority of the activity was over here. A small amount was up here relative to all the rest of the price action, right? And you can see that on the chart. You don't need nobody to tell you that. You just got to understand that trading is happening at these prices, right? And not so much trading is happening at these prices, right? So when you look at this, like, just because it's standing out to me now, what you're seeing, right, is just consolidation sideways. This is ultimately what this is. And again, it's just a function of design, right? I found HEX basically here, right? Like that's basically when I found HEX, but a little bit below that because it was like 0.5% when I found it. So somewhere near here. Go ahead.
You were right before a big payday, or were you right after?
Yeah. I was right before big payday. Like I found it like a month before.
At least you got in right before.
Yeah, I was lucky. Yep. But I wasn't smart. I wasn't quick enough to understand that I should have been staking long term from the jump.
Yeah, none of us did. I mean, all of us that even got into the system, it takes 6 months to unpack, and then 6 months later, you really, really understand shit. Like 4 months ago, or 3 months ago, I finally got all of it from the game theory side in my head. And that's what I do for a living. It just takes so much to unpack because so many mechanics rely on mechanics in a systemic world where those mechanics work in their own ecosystem and affect each other.
Right. And I mean, that's what the T-share system is, right? Like it uses the dollar cost of these items in order to ascertain the systemic value, right? And it can be confusing for people because you're talking about a T-share rate and a T-share dollar cost. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what is this T-share? Like, I can't see that on the chart. And no, you can't because it's not supposed to be on a chart. It's a value mechanism. It's not supposed to be tradable. So what you can do is maybe plot the value of those shares, which we did do at some point in time the other day. Let me just get to that chart so people can see that. And this is from the crossover data set from August 12th. So you can cast that in that chat or stream if you want. But so a few days ago, when I made that chart 3 days ago, the total T-share market cap was almost 28 billion? 28 billion.
Mm-hmm. And that was probably one of the best 2 hours you guys have done, by the way. And that was 2 or 3 days ago. So anyone watching, it's probably the most solid consensus ideal description, from calling out furus to letting someone know that's never seen this before, the full encapsulated data in real time in the whole ecosystem. It's fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. And here we just have the present day value at 32.7 billion. And if you guys haven't checked out HEX.LIVE.com, please do, because those guys are working hard. Ryan Lopez and Ghost are working hard to get this site up to snuff for those of us that like to play with data. So if you are so inclined, have thrown the link in the chat, knock yourself out. But again, we're currently at 32.7 billion, and we were at 28, right? A few days ago, and that value was the same on their data set as well. And again, right, like this line, this yellow line is literally just a system pumping value every day, systemically, every day, because value is not created if T shares are not minted, right? If you're not staking in the HEX system, then the HEX system is not producing the common daily payout, right? Which is represented here in this pink line, right? And that pink line is essentially the value, right? And here we are, we've already breached the dollar. I think we've gone as high as $1.50 already in terms of adjusted HEX value. So the question is, how long can the system actually sustain up and to the right sideways movement before it goes vertical? Because that's what has to happen. People don't understand that, but that's probably because they don't watch my streams, and that's okay. They don't have to, but you're missing out, right? Because I give you all the goodies, right? Like in all honesty, these charts easily worth $10,000 if you want to see them, because you're gonna make more than that just to see them, not even to understand. Because then you gotta pay me for my time. Because this shit here, life changing. Because if you understand what the system does, you realize that this is a stacking element. Because payout per t-shirt happens every single day. Not on occasion. Not if some dev feels like it. It happens every day like clockwork. At 0000 UTC hours every day. Right? So price is going to follow that value proposition throughout time. This is what we're seeing. And guess what? Still happening. Now, the reason I think the market is about to go vertical is because we just had one of these long drawn out sideways movements that typically leads to that, right? We had one here, and this was like the month of April, right? I remember everybody getting antsy back then, just like we were antsy now. And people were really dismayed by what happened, right? Towards the end of the first 5 days of the sack phase when we got this dump, right? But here we are again. A month later, yes, a month later. But the seller was obliterated, right? Whoever that is now fucked, because they're going to have to buy all that shit higher. And they had a lot to sell, right? They had a lot to sell. So let's take a look. See if they're even still there. I don't look at this shit. So much for that. Good luck to you, bro, whoever you are. You fought a good battle. But in the end, you were always going to lose the war. And that's the whole point, right? Now whoever this is, right, with the paywall, with the sell wall that was up here on the other side of 13.8 cents for that whole time, right, during the sack phase all the way out to like 16 cents, they now are going to be forced to buy back higher, period. They're not ever going to have that position again. Never. And no, I do not plan to do a stream on all of that, because my objective is not to talk about that. My objective is to talk about how your ass is getting raped financially, right? Because that's the first thing people need to solve. If you're broke, there's nothing you can do about anything else, because you're just broke. What are you going to do?
I think the whatever the pandemic or whatever you want to call it also aspirates the problem, whether it's student loan debt, whether it's not having good water in Flint or like wherever it is. There are many problems that are going to set yourself up for failure. But the real question is what do you do to get the knowledge and the wisdom to bring yourself up? Exactly right, sir. Like you are the one that chooses to be near the tap of wisdom and finance. Everyone in the financial or the elite world will push you as far as you can from that and make that journey very, very hard to get up to. But once you get high enough, the climb is less hard because they can only gatekeep you so much when you have knowledge.
Right. And the higher you
And
go,
a strong network.
right. And that's the thing, right? The higher you go, the easier it is to attain both. Right.
And that's the beauty about being a Hexagon is the community has so many cuts of cloth, but it has so many different exactly. I know it. You said from your Vegas trip, and like we were talking when I was in the hot tub, and I called you after that. You're like, man, real reality right here, real people, not this fake. Like I have money, but it's really cliff notes and IOUs to bullshit. Yeah, you got like the real people on the real ground, and that builds camaraderie that you can't buy, and that's the difference is you can't really buy Hexagons because we bought ourselves, and with ourselves we inherit knowledge, community, and legion.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, man, because in all honesty, and this is gonna sound weird probably to people that hear me talk about math all the time, but the most bullish aspect of Hex for me, and what why am I calling you me, bro? I'm like losing it. Access probably agrees. You know, to me, the most bullish aspect of Hex is actually the community. It's not even the coin design.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's it.
Because think about it. Look at this chart, and this happened with no outside help. Crazy, huh?
I mean, for me, it was like the second I saw STAKER.APP, that's when I like moved my 401k in. But like before then, you know, I helped RG with his background, and you know, it was the community that drives something like this. You know, it takes a village to raise its child, and that's really the difference between promise ideals where you know everyone's out for themselves and a community where everyone raises each other and they look out for each other and they teach each other. I think Hexagons need to be a little less tribalistic because we need to onboard with knowledge and grace. And that's the one thing that Wales does. With furious fervor, he will deliver knowledge. However, it's not about being right. It's about knowing knowledge and completion of said thought patterns, right? And so like that's it in a nutshell. Like we
I
can
just want to
lead
be grounded in that math, man. Like I like hypothesizing. I'm creative. I can imagine huge price targets, but as long as I have the math,
that's it.
To back it up,
yeah.
That's
and
it.
I feel justified to get on here and talk about it, you know, because I know without a shadow of a doubt that my intuition is aligning with this math.
I mean,
like a harmonic that's playing out in time. I don't know how to put it another way.
Love it.
I tell you what, listening to you in Wales, Axis, literally is the highlight of my goddamn week. So, no, and that's a lot coming from me. So, but I'm just telling you, in general. But the thing is, like, you can't make this shit up. Why? It's in the pudding. You can't not lie from the math, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, once you. The thing is, it's harder for a lot of people to unpack it. It's a little confusing, but it's like when I try to like onboard people, I'm like, it's like being dropped into Greece or like French. Like you don't know like
it's the whole other language. Yeah. It wasn't me. Hey, it wasn't me. You know, even when I started streaming, I didn't know anything like that about Hex. I just knew the bare basics, right? Like I learned with everybody helping me as I was streaming. Like I don't like if you weren't around for the first days of me streaming, that's how I learned. So. My whole thing was just trying to break down the mathematical aspects of the system. That's what I did, right? And that's how I proved to people that Hex was real, that they didn't really understand what they owned. And this is the only reason I have any kind of notoriety. I mean, this shit was out there already. I just showed people what they already knew. Mm-hmm. That's all. I just reinforced. I didn't do anything special, right? But it's something that people already knew. But to see it quantitatively is going to give it a different bent, right?
It really is. Between like you and Gerardo too, between like different ways that you guys show charts. Like Gerardo coming from like neat charts differently, and he's a dope ass guy. And then you coming from the finance end, that gives a different. It's all about levers and seesaws. It's all like
Yo, I say this all the time, right? Like it would seem kind of redundant for us to be on the same stream, but no. We have completely different vantage points.
Yep.
everybody has their own unique vantage point. Like,
Yes, sir.
the sooner we all accept each other as individuals that have a brain, the better off we all become, because it's true. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
Like,
yeah, that's the thing about being Legion is everyone has their point and their place, but everyone moves in a phalanx. Everyone moves
right.
as a unit, and as that economic model, we educate, manipulate, control, and move forward. And that's why you can't beat it.
All right, I love this comment. I don't know if you're serious or not, bro, but if you're not, please let me know. Because that shit is funny to me. Venice is day 7 acting like he don't know why he rich.
Oh, that dude's trolling.
Yeah, he gotta be trolling, because that's mad funny, man. All right, so you guys know now what happened to gold, what they did, why they did it, all of that foul stuff, right? We've now gotten to the point where we can kind of conceptualize why cryptocurrency in its purest form, i.e., non-centralized exchange, is so important, right? No admin keys, no sharing of your private keys, no giving up of your private keys. And as you can see at the ticker at the bottom of my stream, you will always see this, because that is the most important rule you need to know about crypto. If you're new to crypto, tattoo this on your forehead with fake, washing out ink. Don't actually tattoo it on your forehead with like a real tattoo ink. But understand that that's literally the most important thing you need to know. If you don't know anything else, know that. Because if you don't know what's going on the ticker at the bottom, whatever you do is actually not going to matter, because you're not going to keep it anyway. Somebody's going to swiftly take it from you, and you're not even going to know. They're just going to take it. And that's it. And don't think that not keeping ETH in that wallet is going to save you, because all they have to do is wait until you're asleep, send the ETH, and then take the shit. Please use your brain. I've heard this before. I don't know where, but not putting ETH in a wallet, it's not securing your shit. Like, come on, man. Please, let's think and let's act accordingly. So we got HEX. We know HEX is the bomb. We know it's an actual store of value. We know that we can win with HEX. Great. Well, what's next? Because we're having a hard time, right, just living within the ecosystem of the so-called promise coin slash crypto space. Well, now enters Pulse Chain, right? And this is what everybody wants to talk about, which is fine. But let's just remember, it's just a blockchain, right? It's going to be the best one, of course, moving forward. But it is infrastructure, just like Ethereum. Okay? So let's remember that. It is infrastructure, okay? Oh wow, this dude's not trolling. All right. That's all you need to know, brother. And that's a function of T shares, right? So gentleman comes back, he's not trolling, he's serious. He just randomly checks his stakes, and good for you, bro. I'm glad you're smart enough to not fuck with something that's working. Just, before those 4 years are out, try to learn how this shit work, because you're gonna want to restake. So what I mean is, some people like to think that if they don't leave Ethereum in a wallet, that their Hex or whatever other coin can't get taken, because ETH is the gas, right? ETH is what lets you turn the keys when you're trying to take somebody's crypto, right? And you got their keys and you have access to their coins, right? You got to remember that. No gas is not a solution. So, sorry. So again, Pulse Chain, right? Latest, greatest, gonna be outstanding. Please give me all your Pulse Chain questions now. The question from earlier was basically what's gonna happen with. Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, yeah. I do think it's going to be able to handle it, because I am a firm believer. And now I'm going based off empirical evidence, as you see on the chart, that the team that's involved in building Pulse Chain is probably a similar group of people that were involved in building Hex. And I mean, if Hex is any representation of the work, of the caliber of work that these folks can do, then I'm not really worried about what Pulse Chain is going to be able to handle. I'm pretty sure they'll have that issue resolved before it's even an issue, actually. Because those dudes are just sick. I mean, for them to come up with Hex, I wouldn't fade them at all. So yeah. Pulse, EHEX and PHEX. Now, this is all hypothesizing, right? Because you guys got to understand, markets are going to actually determine what happens with price, right? Just like HEX is currently at 15.9 cents. PHEX is going to be at whatever it wants to be at whenever people trade it, right? For all we know, it could be lower or it could be higher. We don't really know. But what we do know is that the transactions are going to be feasible there, right? The cost of transacting in HEX is going to be more feasible on the Pulse network than it is on the Ethereum network, right? And I mean, that's going to be true for all Ethereum coins for the most part, right? As long as you were part of the sacrifice set list, right? One of the coins that could be sacrificed. So with that, right, we now are looking at having probably the best infrastructure in crypto. So what does that mean? That means a couple things. That means that you're going to have opportunity, right? Because most of the people in this chat or in this stream watching it, they know about HEX, they know about Pulse, or both, right? Either or both, right? So the question then becomes, well, what else do you need? I don't know. What else do you need? Right? Like, only you can really answer that question because, again, capital goes to where it's treated best. Now, I'm tired of saying, I haven't said it in so long because I got tired of saying it. But it seems like I need to keep saying it because people are forgetting it. You know, you want to play around with promise coins? Fine, no problem. But just make sure you're doing it responsibly if you are so inclined to do so. Because a promise coin can't do what you're looking at right here on this chart. Just can't do it, right? Now, you really need to understand that. I know I say that phrase all the time. So, you know, really get that. So let's see. We got a question here from Jewel. What's going on, Jewel? Will Pulse be using oracles like Chainlink and other smart contracts to build out the ecosystem? So Pulse is going to be a transactional network. It's already capable of handling everything that Ethereum can handle and more. It already improved Ethereum itself, right? Like the team that's working on Pulse Chain has already improved Ethereum. The Ethereum that you use daily. It's not their fault that Ethereum came back with EIP 1559 or the dev team for Ethereum came back with EIP 1559 and fucked it up. Okay? That's on them.
It's the upward battle to eventually get sharding, right, which may be like, what, 2-3 years ever down the road?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows with them? I mean, by the time they figure it out, we'll probably be on to the next thing. I mean, who even knows at that point? But yeah, you can assume that all those things that exist on Ethereum are going to exist on Pulse because it's literally a replication of the system state. It's just going to have it's literally the same thing with a different name. Pulse is Ethereum, but better, right? Because that's exactly what's happened. And the contract and the code was put out, so you can look it up.
I mean, if you think about like a car being a Ford, which was the first car, it's going to be different than like an Aston Martin or a Tesla or any of the higher EV cars. But still, a Ford's a Ford. That's going to be your carrier pigeon, and then from there it moves forward and gets more evolved and extravagant as it goes forward based on what you want. Right? Nobody's fucking steam engine maximalist. Like, you don't need some goddamn clean coal to realize that you should be investing in renewable energy.
Right.
And so like looking at those facets is what's going to happen. Like whether the oracles move, they're different facets of the greater whole.
Right. I mean, every piece plays a part, right? And that's kind of like the whole point, right? You can't just ignore one thing. Everything kind of matters. And that's why I've realized that with age, right? Because I've learned to analyze things a certain way because of my life experiences. But, looking at something like this, right? Like the feasibility is going to pump the price for retail, smaller stakes, and investors, right? And it's true what he finishes with saying, but who knows? Because we really don't know. Because here's one thing we all do know. Maybe we don't remember. But let's not forget that there are a ton of stakes on the east side that are just sitting there bleeding because the fees are too stupid to end stake. So all of those stakes on the pull side are going to ratchet up the T-shirt rate. And there's a lot of those.
I mean, even I was about to send some liquidity in and do another stake, and it was $100 tonight. It was like 450 going. But the whole thing that you have to realize about the Pulse ecosystem is once we get a fiat gateway in, and Steph and Firebund, who are ninja slayers of the industry, it's kind of like, yeah, you may call me the game theory guy. I tip the hat to that. But Wales is an Access Finance guys. Steph and Firebund, coder guys. So the ones that bring the community together through an encapsulated UI that's attractive, slick, sleek, and then has the ability to do that onboarding one button click, which makes it easy to know coiners. Because we can all do the other thing because we've been in the space long enough. We have enough metal in the game that we can figure it out. But what we want is a one-click, easy turnkey solution for no coiners and all the rest of that to make it easy. And then from there, those quick transactions is just butter.
Yeah, I think I think like this is just my opinion. I'm not technically savvy like Firebund and stuff, clearly. But I think the harder part of the mission is security, right? Not your keys, not your coin.
Agreed. Yes, sir.
Not your keys, not your coin is going to be the hardest battle for, like it was for me. Like when I first started learning this stuff, right? Like we're looking at long form characters here that normal people, I was a math student at the time. Okay, so to me, it was still freaky. What do you think a normal person is going to do when they see a wallet address? They're going to lose their shit.
Yep.
Right? So what's happening is that you do have some solutions that are going to come from like the domain name system, right? Like Ethereum has something similar. That's where you get those .eth names from. They're there to replicate.
It's unstoppable domains, right? So like once everyone
that's another thing. They're doing .crypto.
Mm-hmm.
That's .crypto. What I'm talking about is the Ethereum naming system. That's different. ENS. I don't remember what it is. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm on there.
But no, you're right. Like what we need to do is have it to a simpler state where you can do
ENS.domains. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So you can come here and literally buy a random name .eth and boom, that's a wallet address now. And you can tie it to several things. So it's not just wallet addresses. As you can see, Web3, you can probably try it to a domain name by now, I'm sure, as long as it's on see, you can also use ENS with DNS names you already own. ENS supports many DNS names, including yada yada.
Yeah, it's the exact same as unstoppable domains, just different extensions.
Okay, there you go. I didn't know that. I've never looked at unstoppable domain. I just knew that they did .crypto. I didn't know you can use it as a wallet and all that stuff too.
For everything, right? Cool. So yeah, it'll hold like all the basic, within reason wallets.
Right.
But it's still not mass adoption yet because it's still
very niche.
Yeah, well, it's in it, but that's the feature too. Like let's just say you like a Tesla, right? What's the real question of a Tesla? Where's your next charge? You want to take a Tesla across country, you got to plot out where your charge stations are, or just have a really goddamn long power cable and then go, break into someone's garage and just charge it up. But I mean, like, however you want to handle that model, but that is the model right now.
Right. I mean, look, I'm not a fan, so good luck to those that got to deal with all that. Not my cup of tea. I honestly don't think that's the future, but a lot of people seem to think so. And I think that the people that think that miss the fact that you're using more fossil fuels to create those so-called green energies. But
you're talking about the cars or the unstoppable domain? So
I'm talking about the cars now.
Yeah.
It's all good. People will learn at some point or not. What are you gonna do? Let's see. Pulse equals lots of million. Yeah, that supply is gonna be crazy. And that's the best thing, right? People just don't understand tokenomics. They're gonna think because the supply is high that they should dump it or whatever. People there's gonna be people that sacrifice that don't get it.
So I don't understand why people that even get into the space want to just deal with dumping. Like the whole premise of anything that anyone of all of us have been teaching you is make sure you hold your keys, you know how to save yourself, and come back in a few years. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to delegate your stake. You don't have to do shit. You just need to know where your shit is and come back in half a decade and be like, wow, that was a great decision. Thank you. Thank you. That was like literally a great decision. Thank you.
Literally. It's crazy.
Yeah, right.
That simple. It's so crazy, right? This is a good question because as I read it, I was like, what if there's a time gap that ratchets up the HEX T-share rate during this point in time?
Okay, so I guess I could talk about that if you wanted to play. It's
right. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So like the thing is that so they're going to try to find parity within their own ecosystem, but what's really going to find parity?
Well, this is at the start. We're talking about at the start.
Well, yeah, but at that point, the bot greps it all and then resets everything on the load, and then on that, everyone's going to be fighting for the PHEX rate. So it's like going to Best Buy on Black Sunday or Black Friday, whatever the fuck it is, to get your like.
Hold on. Let's remember that the T-share rate, right, is set on the end staking side.
The T-share rate is universal. What's going to happen is, all right, well, first of all, let's address the OA staking. I really don't think people understand the significance of that because they don't think 3 steps ahead. So game theory-wise, you have circulating supply that was never going to be used ever. And then from there, that circulating supply got removed before the fork, which means at the fork's time, all of the HEX wasn't available at the fork. So where everyone else diluted, HEX got diluted before that dilution happened. So it brings actually the PHEX's parity closer to HEX because it didn't happen beforehand. That liquidity that never got staked, never got moved.
Yeah, now there's less HEX. Right?
Yeah, well, yeah, you're basically like leveling up. How do I correlate this? If anyone played an old MMO, let's just say like EverQuest back in the day, they had this little cheat hacky thing that like a maxed out character could take a baby character and go like basically have them in the group and level them up. And so that's essentially what's happening. All of the liquidity or a huge staunch of the liquidity allowed this little character to get leveled up faster than everyone else because they were just hanging out in like the group of the masses. And so it's such good game theory. Like everyone that wanted a pump in HEX during the last 3 days, which is what I kind of tried to predict, the OA staking, not even the OA, people use your words. Words are the correct things. The actual OA is the wallet addresses based on the OA. If you want to deal with other subsequent addresses that may or may not have a correlation to the OA, then use daughter addresses. The OA itself has never moved a goddamn coin. You have to use your words for a reason. Otherwise, you sound like someone that uses the word scam without having proof of what the scam is. So the OA did not move. Coins that chain analysis could or could not be favorable to the OA moved. But what they did is they removed the circulating supply. That circulating supply makes hex exceptionally rare, and it makes hex exceptionally rare before the snapshot, which makes PHEX a lot more not liquid than all the other PRC20s. It's beautiful game theory, and that's what Richard does. Is he plays StarCraft in real life? like that's the whole thing. Is if you're not paying attention, your playbook is on the back
I
end.
was just thinking about that today, actually.
Yeah, no, it's like I hate sports and I don't get a chance to play games because I make games. But I'll tell you what, there's some StarCraft in real life being played right now, and a bunch of shit, some Zerg Rush, a whole bunch of shit, some like locking in your resources before you expand your base to a different location. There's a lot of goddamn good game theory being played, and unfortunately, real game theory is real reality. So anyone bitching doesn't really realize what's happening, but that's okay. The food rules will learn eventually, right? It should, because the game, again,
the principles, man. It's like where the value comes from.
Well, that's where
value and all the fun comes from strict rules that are met and followed by everybody.
Well, that's why, like a football or a foosball coach, foosball is the devil, Bobby Boucher. Like they have these plays that they're gonna do, and they're gonna be like, you go up here, you shake your dick in, and you fucking wave your hand, you do all this other stupid foosball-y shit, and then the game happens. This is happening in real time, and everyone's so concerned with where the ball is that they're not looking where the receiver, the quarterback, the whatever, the player, catcher. I do zero sports, so like all those people are. You need to not look where the ball is, but look where the ball's going to be, and that's exactly what's happening right now. And no one wants to pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why early adopters always outperform everyone else. Now let's go on to this question here. Will staking Pulse for proof of stake work similar to ETH 2.0? And the answer is negative.
That's right. That's right. ETH 2.0 is not even real yet. So
let's start with that.
so I do believe you could just stake your ETH in Coinbase for a promise of ETH 2.0 that doesn't work. Yeah. That certainly sounds like a security to me. Yep, but I'm not even gonna talk about old Howie and his test of things. But yes, staking Pulse is delegation to validators, and that's different than an Oracle. But just do the research and learn, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's really straightforward. It's not bad. I was looking at the difference myself just to educate myself. Because again, I'm just going to be delegating. I'm not going to be a validator. I don't need to know that much. So I'm not really worried about it. I know that there will be folks that do specialize in this. And I can hand it off to them because they're the pros, not I. I'll learn when I learn. But yeah, so it's a little different. You're just going to be delegating your coins, right? Not your keys, your coins, to a validator, and you will get yield in return for doing that because you're just augmenting the network, making it stronger. Let's see what other questions we have here. We're pretty much at the end of this, guys. I mean, we already know Pulse is going to be the bomb, right? We already know it's better. Richard told us. We all heard it. If you didn't, go watch the stream because that's just what it is. Let's see. How high will the t-shirt rate be? Well, hard to answer that one because that's a projection. We don't really do that here. We stick to the math. But I'll tell you to like this. I've tried to forecast a t-shirt rate before, and it was wrong within, I think, a week. So it's just going to continue to go up and to the right. And the more staking activity we have, or end staking activity we have, sorry guys, the more end staking activity we have in the network, the higher the t-shirts rate is going to go. So again, if you want to see how fast it could move, I recommend you go to HEX.dailystats.com, right? Check their data out, see what the changes are and the daily rate of change for the t-shirt rate, that's a good place to go. I already went earlier. I threw it in the chat. HEX.dailystats.com. Great resource for a very, very great, simple stats in regards to the hex system. And again, right, me and Axis did a stream on this, man. Hex has literally 621 or 22 data points letting you know it's real, not a scam. We're waiting for one to show us that it is.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. Let's see.
Well, so the thing with all the rest of that is, let's just say there's a fiat on-ramping that creates Pulse as its own ecosystem that it can touch, stake, restake, and all the rest of that in its own web of itself.
Mm-hmm.
It can do the exact same thing that the AMC and all the Wall Street bets, nonsense, FOMO, idiocies, things can do, but with real assets and real weight. And the more that happens, the more it touches the contract, the quicker it runs.
Correct.
So, nope.
Yeah, I mean, Pulse is going to be interesting, right? Because in essence, all of the supply as it exists right now exists in everybody's wallet, right?
Yep.
Where else is it? I don't know. I mean, unless they create some additional supply that came out of nowhere. All of the existing supply that we know is going to exist when Pulse launches is in everybody's wallet. And we know there were like 42,000 of them or something like that.
I mean, on top of that, they got it removed. Like, remember how much Hex got removed from the SAC, especially with the 14 billion. So that cloning of the snapshot is going to be even more or less than what was before with EHEX or real hex versus PX.
Well, could you repeat that a little bit? Could you repeat that again?
So again, like in a nutshell, because not the OA, a Giga Whale decided to sacrifice before snapshot. In a nutshell, regardless of how increased the circulating supply of Pulse and the PRC20s are, they were supposed to have a scale, right? None of those PRC20s had a sacrifice before that removed a significant amount of circulating supply beforehand, which means that PHEX is more similar to Hex or EHEX before pre-SAC. And then it just makes it more and more, it's brilliant game theory. I really can't explain it any better.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what's cool about it, right? Everything in the system incentivizes you to hold on. It's literally a game of who has the tightest hand grip.
Yes, sir.
Literally. So, I like this comment by David because I hope so too. But I don't think it's going to be the case because people always choose the cheaper option. I know I'm going to because I'm not trying to get my money to no middleman. So I'd rather have more Hex and more Pulse. Pretty straightforward with me, right? But there are people that are going to use Ethereum because they're just going to want to. And that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. It works, right? So the gas fees are astronomically high. Then in my mind, it no longer works. Let's see here.
Well, the thing with the gas fees, right? So if you're going to be on the OG Hex system, as you unstake, always add like 0.2, 0.4 ETH to your bag. So that way you have gas to get out of any situation. But those tokens are going to be more valuable due to the rarity of them. You just need to make sure that your wallet is never dry docked. That is always the thing with Ethereum, is you need to make sure going forward, as ETH goes up in value, that you have enough economic mass of gas to unstake. And then when you unstake, then you can have those tokens and then resell that liquidity to add back to your gas tank. Like, you need to be an adult and keep adding to your gas tank going forward as a Hex player, not a PHEX player. Because going forward, who knows what the cost could be with the HEX.LIVE.
But that's crazy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like as a let's just say you're a Navy boy, you need to make sure that you have enough food to go through a journey, right? And so or enough water. You can be on the ocean, which is salt water, but
Yeah, it's the same deal.
Yeah, exactly. You just need to cash out enough and put it in your gas tank so you're good for the next journey.
I imagine a lot of users are going to have like a fat rolling PHEX stake that they just kind of keep rolling over.
I would if I
And
was
they
a
use
whale.
that to like, take care of any
impending
expenses that they would
costs and
have.
stuff. Yeah, that's what makes sense. Let's answer this question here. Can you explain if we'll be able to stake Pulse? Yes, the staking for Pulse would not be based on a time lock. It would just be you delegating your coins, but keeping your keys to a validator so that you can help augment their network and help secure the network or their area of the network so that the network can be more secure. Hope that makes sense.
Correct. And by the way, Chris again is one of my onboards, and then another one is Cosmic Cowboy. So good to see you in here. Good to see you in here, gents. All the love and light.
Yeah, I've seen both of them. Shout out to them guys. Yeah, there you go. Stack stake, we know what you mean. Let's see. Yeah, would be nice, wouldn't it? Shit. Yeah. It's hard to disagree with that, right? Because a lot of people just don't know about crypto. And what they do know comes from fucking 60 Minutes and shit, which is horrible because they don't fucking say anything. So, yeah. I mean, this is why I'm taking the approach that I'm taking, honestly. Nobody is taking any valid approach as far as I can see. We all know the same bullshit. So let's talk about some real shit, right? And that's my approach to what's going on. If you really want to make crypto the forefront of what we need to make happen, because we do need to make something happen, then we should be educated well enough to understand why we're doing what we're doing and not waver, because what we're doing is the right thing. And that's what people need to understand. It's very important you understand that. I mean, you're fighting for your future here. This is why crypto is important. I mean, I've been talking fucking nonstop for 3 hours. Not because I like to talk. Promise you, I got better shit to do. And for me, nothing is better, honestly, because I already been through this. I've already, this for me is a personal thing, right? Like today, I'm sorry for keeping my guests mostly quiet, but, it was mostly a rant for me because I've had this bottled up for, who the hell knows how long.
Fucking 15 years, dude. That's what I love about you. It's like you had dealt with the hell, and now you're like, I'm going to teach people that earned the knowledge and deserve it versus all those fucks on fucking the Bull Street.
Oh my God, man.
I know it. I know the feels, man. I got that student loan debt. I'm a slave. And then when I learned this, and I'm like, I try to adopt kids to teach their parents, be like, whatever you need to do, stake for your kid's 18th birthday. You'll be happy that you did.
Right. It's so true.
Simple things, man. Simple. Mm-hmm. Because we talk about complex, but if you can teach someone a simple thing, eventually they'll learn the complex one.
Yes, sir. I'm a full believer of that.
Yes, sir.
Now, this is a good question because we have to understand what's happening. Now that we're going to have two separate chains with Hex on it, right? Because Hex is the same no matter what chain is on. It's very important we understand that. It's very important that we also understand that the Pulse network and the Ethereum network are two separate chains. So what that means is unless there's a bot trading them both in the same order, in the same statistical manner, the odds of EHEX going up when people buy PHEX or vice versa, selling or buying PHEX and buying EHEX, whatever the order, right? Whatever the permutation, it's not necessarily going to be true because they're two separate networks and they're going to be two separate actors engaging. It might not be the same actor. So it's important we understand that.
So can I speak to that? Well, first I want to like eventually call in access into his double moon system, but like as a retired truck driver, people don't usually talk and understand this mythos, right? But you have 3 different octanes of gasoline. Gasoline is not fuel. Truck drivers fuel with diesel fuel. There is a difference between fuel and gasoline, and even more so, you probably don't realize this when you look. Fuel actually has a cash price and a credit price. You don't deal with that as a four-wheeler with your gasoline, which has 3 different octaves, right? And so EHEX and PHEX are very different energy providers, right? Between all the rest of that, but hex is hex. One has a different fuel point, and the other has a different fuel point. But Axis, you want to talk about like your dual sun or dual moon theory real quick? Are you still there?
Sure.
Yes, sir. I loved it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the systems are just going to be a function of the staking, of course. We know that. So what we can deduce is that gas price will affect the amount of where all the users go and where all the action really goes, you know. But they might work in tandem so that price oscillates in a way that on one chain you could have price discrepancies, but it's going to be weighted. It's going to be weighted in a certain ratio that'll oscillate between, so that cheaper T-shares is where the activity starts migrating to. Because I anticipate that if Pulse Chain gets big enough and takes enough of Ethereum's network capacity, that ETH gas prices will be much less too. So that's kind of the dream.
Well, the funny thing is that, like, I forget who said it, whether it was this streamer. It's hard to when you watch so many streams today, it just they all blend together. But like anyone on Pulse will eventually find Hex because yield, and then from there, the more that they interact with the token, it's kind of like buying your 87% octane like fuel or gasoline, and then for eventually you want that 91%, and then eventually, you upgrade yourself to like a really big car. Or maybe you go cross-chain to the other one. But they will eventually find parity because it's other sides of a seesaw. But both economic Pandora's boxes work completely individually, but completely in the same gravitational mass of each other. There's no difference. Like they're immutable. Right? You know what I mean? It's like you have one honey badger, you have 2 honey badgers. Let them off, and it's not my fault. Bye.
Yeah, I think it's just a function of user activity about how fast or what all that all plays out.
No, I agree 100%.
Yep.
I mean, that's what's so hard, right? Because we're basically saying we don't know, but it's because of that, right? Like you can't really.
What we can be sure of is that the monetary policy of the T-share Truth Engine system will exist and will have value and will go up in price.
Yeah, it will be the same.
So we can guarantee those values, but we just can't say where it's going to start. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because you're looking at percentages. Everything's a ratio.
Yep.
And if we're promising that Truth Engine is going to provide you upside on a 6-month rolling basis, then that's all you need to know.
That's it.
It's mathematically
proven.
For now on ETHEX, it's been up to this point. We have every single data point says that's true.
Yep.
And that's the whole thing. It's 600 data points. Who has that for anything? No one. Absolutely nobody has that much transparent data ever. And the thing is, it's immutable data.
Correct.
Yeah. You release Pandora's box, and now it just did its thing. And now you have it's like putting something on Mars. And then you're like, what happens out there has nothing to do with the crypto market, though it does.
It'd be like putting like an atmosphere generator on Mars so that it could start to house life again, and then expecting nobody to ever go use it. And
that's it. Yes, no, that's exactly it. It's it's brilliant.
It's crazy, man. So this is a good question. Will there be 2 T-shirt rates? Yes. How could stakes being ended on EHEX affect the T share rate on PHEX?
Absolutely, they will not. They
They
cannot.
will not. Correct.
Yep.
They will not. They are two separate systems, and it's important to understand that they will just function exactly the same.
But the thing is that the price, because people don't understand the deeper methods, will find the parity. People will look at the price of one and the price of another, but
you're
not
gonna be
realize that.
arbing the T-share price in USD probably.
Oh my god, it's gonna
Yeah,
get.
you're right. It's probably
gonna,
going to be the T-shirt price. Yeah.
well, that's inherently the real fun talk, right? So, like the fun talk is, what does Richard do with an exchange? And then what is the stable coin that allows the second sleuth of the straw between the dragon eating its own tail? So you're going to have the first sleuth, which is going to be it was going to be Pulse. Second sleuth is going to be the stable coin that will either originate on Pulse or start on one side and then bridge into the other. Now, those two sleuths allow liquidity to move back and forth, which Richard calls his Hart's Law, because one thing is economically tied due to a liquidity mass. They will flow from each other. But people forget the third, and that's that whole hex scale nonsense stuff, which could be yeah, that's some interesting future theory. But regardless of the fact, the stablecoin sleuth that brings a second straw to the game will just release pressure, which causes more mass adoption. The more mass adoption that flows in one side will flow to the other side to equal. It's like shocking two different swimming pools at the same time. They will flow and boil at the same rate. T-share rate, difference. Price, acceptable. But price is not the most important thing in Hex. T-share rate is always the most important thing. It's the hidden gem. It's the heart of the oyster.
Yield. I feel like that 37%.
Yield, bitches. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's funny.
It's so crazy because, yield, bitches.
This, shit, what was I going to say now? I was having a good thought. Man, spacey tonight.
Well, it's kind of like when I got on to have to do that emergency talk with Dave 43 or G about the whole box lunching. Fucking, if you don't do your homework, you're not excused from class. It's not your fault that you don't do the fucking homework. It's not my fault. Not Wells's fault. Not Axel's fault. Do your damn homework. We give it to you for free.
Correct. Now, this is a good question because I have the best answer, and it's tied to yield, right?
Oh.
Now, think about it like this. Now, this is probably the best analogy I've ever come up with in my life because it's so simple. Hex is literally a small business opportunity for every individual on the planet. Fact, not fiction, because you can earn 10% a year or more depending on how long you stake. Where else can you get that? And we're talking about just in crypto terms. We're not talking about what it's going to look like if you convert it to fiat. Straight up. Yes, Hex could hit $100.
I mean, like the projection from Tangent and Gerardo was like 240 by 2024, and that's just like stupid McNutty.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably surpass that though. Like, it's hard to say.
Well, I know. Well, you were the one that was just like, yeah, fucking Hex $10 by like end of year, and I'm
and I'm still sticking to that.
I do think that can happen, but I actually think that you need a huge green candle, like to just to get eyes on it.
Well, here's the thing that I want to like stress to other Hexkins watching: don't poke bears and swat Watness just to swap them. We don't need us to defend Richard. Richard can defend himself, and we need to be professionals. And as professionals, we handle ourselves as such. Each one teach one, not each one kick someone else in the face. That is not how you be a professional. So think about food for thought. on how you teach, grow, and learn. Just in general, that's how you get to those crazy numbers, is by being passionate but smart.
Yeah, I mean, I know I myself I take pride in the things I say and what I'm relaying. I might be a little sloppy because I'm short on time and shit happens and all of that. But
You were not sloppy at all, sir. Let me tell you that. You were not sloppy at all, sir. At all.
Kind of feel like I'm sloppy, but all right, fair enough. Good to know. But long story short, we have to take care of ourselves because nobody else is going to. Right? Like, look at what Richard Hart does for us. How could I not do this? I'm do nothing. This is small compared to what he does. This is nothing. This is just merely telling you why his tool is great. He created a great tool. I'm just relaying the message the best way I can because everybody needs to hear it. Right? Like, that's really all it is. And we're talking strictly about X. Now, this is a great question. Is there any risk in delegating Pulse, even if it's small? Yes, sir. There's always risk in giving your money to somebody else, but at least you're not giving up your keys, which is great. Now, here's the thing. When you're delegating coins, in this case, Pulse, what's happening is you're saying to somebody, here's my coins. I am, and basically entrusting them to you, validator, sir, or madam, right? So that you can earn me some yield on my coins. Thank you very much. I'll be back for them later. That's basically what's going on. Now, what happens between that point and point Z, hard to say, because if the validator's network goes down, then you could face a small loss. But we're not really sure yet because we don't have the final parameters on how all of that is going to work. But once we do, we'll have a clearer answer. But those are the inherent risks that we do know of to date. So there is some, of course, because you never know what could happen to a network, right? A point in a network, anything can happen. Yeah, I agree here. Shout out to David. He's the man. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, man, this chat is crazy. You guys don't stop. I just realized how far behind I am. Holy shit. Hold on here. But yeah, Crypto Kool-Aid, you make a great point, right? And when I kind of jumped on the scene, I kind of said it, but it didn't matter.
No. You coined that term. It's great. Like, I've got a whole bunch of like hippy dippy quotes that I use, but like each one teach one is exactly right. Like you can use like you teach the best, but you need to learn the most. We are all teachers, learners, and doers. Each one has their point in their own process, and through that process, do you come to your culmination of where you need to be. But simply term, each one teach one, and that's how you grow viral, and that inherently correlates also into us as evolved hexicans need to teach, not attack. We don't need to attack anymore. We already won. We are already going to win more. At this point, we need to educate, not kick knees for no reason, right? Don't throw don't throw stones from the peanut gallery for no damn reason. That is bloody stupid. Especially when you're in the position that you're in, right? You make yourself look like a fool, and we don't deal with foolers here. That's the whole point. Fools are foolers. We do not deal with foolers in our world.
Nope. I mean, this is the most important thing you guys got to realize. Now, personally, I'm tired of dealing with inept folks, people with no standards, people that just don't care, don't take pride in their work, etc. Right? As you guys have seen, most of the people that stream at least take pride in what they stream about, if not their stream, right? When you set a bar, it has to be for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. And I honestly think that if we don't set that bar, given that we are the leaders, then we are doing a disservice not only to ourselves, but to the future of the entire space and what it could be. because it's that serious, right? Some people might not think it is, but I hate to be the bearer of bad news. It is. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on these streams for hours on end. Seriously. I mean, there's more that could be done, right? And look, we have 180 people plus watching, almost 4 hours in. So unless there's like some type of amplifier going on back here, that's a lot of eyes and ears, right? And I'm not talking about makeup and shit. So
Hey, that or your damn AI is fucking running rampant again.
right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, delegating is a vote. You still retain your coins. Excusez-moi. See, I don't know everything. There you go.
But that's why we have community, right?
Yeah,
we
exactly.
we all learn together. That's why the whole hate thing needs to stop. We learn as a whole. I mean, the whole Spartan 300 is that every person has a spot in the phalanx, and then from there, everyone protects each other. They don't go rogue and do silly shit, right? We all work together to teach, to build, to grow, and learn. And learning is the most valuable and expensive token in the world. Never forget that. And in life, that's everything. Learning and teaching and growing.
It is. It's funny because even though I know a lot of this stuff already, right, being able to explain it in a way that anybody can understand it in the most simplest way possible, right? Because a lot of these things, again, are based on layers of lies. So there's a lot of things that you have to kind of connect that you might not be able to see that immediately lets me see it immediately. Right. And that's just comes with experience. It comes with times. And thank you guys for all the love and appreciation. Seriously, you guys are always great. And I mean, I'm sorry for going so long, but look, we can talk for hours, right? And this is kind of the crappy part about the stream. And thank you for this comment. Promotion. This is very good. I need to read this out loud. Knowledge is the dimension to overlap, right? Time, basically. You aren't able to go forward without knowledge. This is very true. Time will keep ticking, but progress won't be made without knowledge or knowing that you lack it.
Very true, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much, man. That's a great comment. This is so true. So true. And we are back above 16 cents again, as you guys can see. Now, look, you guys got to realize, right? We went sideways for a long time, right? With that, the system's building value the whole time, right? And I think today we have some nice juicy emergency end stakes. So make sure to check your Staker app and your Go.Hex or whatever front end you like to use. And check your stakes, man, because they're going to look nice. They're going to look real nice, especially today. Because we're basically about to make new highs. So enjoy the ride, guys. It's going to be a fun one.
Yes, sir.
But, again, we have to remember, guys, we are the cream of the crop, right? And I was talking about this earlier. You got to really respect yourself if you want others to respect you. If somebody comes at you sideways, then it's their loss. Look at that chart. Their loss, right? Not yours. Like we don't need to sell hex to anybody. We lose when we do that. And that's what they don't understand. That's the biggest thing that they don't understand, because what happens when people end up staking? The pool gets diluted. That's the reality. That's mathematical reality. So when people tell you you're trying to fucking bait them or some dumb shit because they don't know what a Ponzi is or they don't know what a pyramid scheme is, explain that to them. Help them understand that in reality, if you do come on, you actually dilute my share, you fool. So in fact, no thanks. Forget I even mentioned those 3 letters and walk away. Like, you win, they lose. You have to remember that. It's so serious. So serious. Because you have the power. They have the promise coin. 2 P's, but different meanings. Do not forget it.
Yes, sir.
Right? Like, that's not going to change. Right? Like, they might moon, but then they get dumped. And then it's like, what happened? And then it's like they don't even exist. Don't got that problem over here. We're just building value. I mean, this chart to me basically looks like the payout per t-shirt chart. I mean, or payout per t-shirt sum line. And I mean, I'm just talking about the general trend, right, of this line. It's crazy. It's crazy. Because,
Question is, how high can that go sustainably?
right. That's the question. Now, it does this daily around the clock. Question is, can it actually be stopped?
I think there's two metrics that I think are going to determine that. How big is the rolling wave? And how fast does the price shoot up?
Right, because that does matter, right? When
And you
things
got to
get out
think
of whack, they do
your
have to
average
get back to whack.
T-share stake length is, or your average stake length is 5.8 years or something, 5.7 years.
It's around there. I'm not sure.
So there's plenty of time for this price to go buck wild, you know. So it's it could sustainably go much higher, you know. Like, you know, I mean, look at what happened to XRP, man. They sustainably held 25 cents with all the dumpage for years, man.
Yeah.
So what's this going to do with these fundamentals built into it? There's no coins to dump. I mean, it's like an inverse of that.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Well, I mean, with the EHEX, like what 12% of the entire circulating supply just got sacked. So, and it was not even available to begin with. So, I mean, I need to sit down with Wales in person and do some charts and some fucking game dev versus finance FOMO math. But like, it's really kind of dangerous. So just sit back, be thankful, enjoy the ride, and as I tell all of my ducklings, watch the goddamn videos. We don't do this for free. We do, but like for the 4 hours to educate you, to try to give you all the cliff notes, to encourage you to watch another video, to go read another document, to go talk to another hexagon, right? To like, I feel like I need to like quote the end of fucking 300. It's like, talk to another 300 spotted in the line. We took on that space, and then from there was war. But like, again, it's going very, very well for us. Now, what you need to do is learn, because again, each one teach one. I love that line. It's beautiful. And what we do with that is encourage more to have their own financial freedom from the furus, from the masses, from the student loans, from the Ponzi's, from the fiats, from the countries. And we are legion.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to us, man. Like, I can't say that enough. I can't say it enough because, you know, we sit up here, we talk about this stuff for hours on end. And I like to think it's because people take it seriously, you know, and I'm not doing this for my health, you know. I know shit's fucked up. Like, we need to do this for all of us. We really have no option. I mean, I just really honestly hope people realize that before it's too late and we can't organize.
Yep.
Because then what? Right? And then this is why being first class is so important. When you're first class, nobody can tell you anything. They just got to get out the way.
Yes, sir.
When I'm walking, people get out my way. They don't get in my way. It's important people understand there's a reason for that. How you carry yourself is everything. It's everything. And when you're sitting out here not acting like you're the best, biting and buying into their nonsense because they're just baiting you, right? All of these clown furus are just looking for attention. That's it. People on Twitter, same deal. They're just looking for attention. Don't give it to them. They haven't earned it. They haven't even figured out that they don't know how to make a decent investment. They own a pump and dump, and they don't even know it.
Yeah, but they can't even come with the examples of how things work, right?
Right.
They come with an ideal of idiocy, but they don't have the solution to pull it through, right? That's why, like, if you want to go biblical bullshit, the eye of the needle is thrown through a camel. Fuck the camel, fuck the needle. You have a thread. If you don't know how to make that shit go through, that's your problem, not
Doesn't
the
even matter.
camel. Not even a
Yeah.
matter. Yeah,
Yeah.
none of that shit fucking matters, man.
Yeah.
So it just stay with the cliff notes and stay with the hard lines and stay with the learning and just don't interact with stupid shit.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing to do, but it's the
I know.
one thing you got to do.
I know it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just on us, man. You know, it's on us.
Yep.
You know, we're up here talking to each other. I just have the podium at the moment. Anybody can do a stream, right? There's nothing unique about it.
But your podium as well, sir. Like again, like tip of the top.
Right. But again, we don't know what else is out there, right?
Well, but that's why you offer the opportunity for any furu, for any influencer, for any just person to come online. They don't have to have these grand titles. You can be fucking like Bobby Boucher with their fucking foosballs. It doesn't really matter. Like, you can come online and talk what you want.
Literally.
You have never not said that someone cannot come online ever based on their caste, class, and or education. Yeah, just come online. Speak your mind.
That's it.
That's it.
We learn from each other that way.
Yes, sir.
That's it. So I guess we'll wrap it up here, guys. This has been a long 4 hours. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope this stream was decent for you. Leave your comments and all that good stuff in the comments section. As you guys know, I always check them out. Axis and Kool-Aid, you guys do your thing.
I do not do anything. If you know my cell phone number, you can call me. Other than that, absolutely nothing. You know what I do for a living? I fry fucking bananas. I know nothing about crypto. I know nothing about pixels. I know nothing about anything. Maybe I'm Mr. Meeps from fucking Rick and Morty or any of the rest. Yes, son of that's right. Yes, son of a bitch, I'm in. I have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe I'm from the future. Wet newspaper to the wet newspaper to the face. Buy that Bitcoin in 2012 or buy that fucking Hex in 2021. Other than that, that's fine. Listen to Access. Yeah, listen to Access and Wales. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. Thank you, Kool-Aid. You're awesome. I appreciate you coming on tonight, too, because I kind of just hit you out of the blue today. So thank you.
I couldn't have a more pleasure with more badass people, and that's what we do. Each one teach one. We love that shit.
For sure.
Man. Appreciate you guys for coming on.
Yes, sir. Twitter.com/HEX.LIVE for more amazing calls and amazing artwork.
Boom. There you go. All right, guys. You see the website on the screen. You guys already see my Twitter handle on the screen. YouTube.com/Worlds Only. And at Telegram, you can find me at t.me/Wales Only. And if you're new to Hex and don't have the Staker app yet, plug income.watch into your browser. It's a way to download the Staker app. I get a menial, what do they call it? A menial referral fee if you happen to trade on there. So you don't have to use the referral app. But I just like the domain name. I just like to say it. So.
Goddamn right, sir.
Yeah, you gotta watch your income, right? You gotta watch your income.
That's sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you for the super chat, Hex19. You guys are crazy, man. Got with these super chats. Appreciate you guys tonight, man. Thank you again for tuning in. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, evening, and I will see you on the next one. Whales out.